a record.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever been this early. I'm not sure if we've been early, period.
There have been times we've gone live at 9 on the dot, but it's rare. We usually take a few minutes afterwards. That is definitely the case. I'm worried that there's like something critical that I am missing, and I just don't know about it. Let's see. Okay, the audio levels, it seems like it's all in order. I put a thumbnail, I put a description, I put tags, I put a title. Definitely put a title. Where's the chat? Oh, I deleted the chat. No, we're good there. I tweeted it out. I put the topics. I looked at the topics. I know what I'm talking about, at least a little bit, enough to talk about it. So
you sure you have a YouTube channel?
Oh, damn it.
You might have forgotten the channel, man.
I forgot the channel. Oof. Oof, indeed. But it looks like others did not forget the channel. Robeer, what's up, bro? I see we're here to the chat early. Isaiah, Severial, Daniel11011, dead channel. I'm sorry your channel is dead. Rest in peace.
Unfortunate.
And Sabbath, what is up, guys? How you guys doing? I see Brandon's already in the chat, but you're also here in 2 places at once. What's going on?
Whoa!
Yeah. Super
it's magic.
Chris, Brandon the Stallion. We got the. I don't know if we got the whole game, but we got a sizable portion of the gang already here. Oh, it looks like Severe already saw your April Fool's video, Brandon.
Thank you, Severial.
Oh my God, we have a clone of Shifty. What's going on?
Whoa!
What's going on? Oh my God.
It needs to be stopped.
Yeah. So I didn't do anything for April Fool's. I thought about it, but I wasn't even in Jersey. That's where I live. I was visiting friends at PA, so I left in the morning. So half the day was kind of just spent, driving, and then I had some family in the hospital, so I had to go help them out a little bit, and I got food, and then I took a nap. And before I know it, I get ready for the podcast. So I couldn't think of anything, but I also I don't know. I feel like it's a tough balance because especially because we cover news, right? I see other channels they'll put up some sort of video and it's misinformation, but it's like the one day where misinformation is an okay thing, right? But a lot of people don't like misinformation, and I try to be big on that. Like whenever I've made a mistake, I'll do my best to correct it, and I try to be accurate, right, and fair. So there's like this struggle, but at the same time I do like to make jokes, but I guess I've just when it comes to the channel, I don't know what to do.
For mine, I just made sure that what was in it was so unbelievable that you'd have to be like a complete moron to ever believe that it was true. So it's just one of those things where it's funny because you act like you totally believe it, but the information you're saying makes no sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, IGN made a fake Nintendo Direct where they said everything is coming to Switch.
Yeah, I saw it around, but I haven't seen the video.
Beat 'em Ups had a fake reaction to an 11-minute Nintendo Direct. I really like Game Explains. Game Explains was cool. They actually had a CGI trailer they created for the F-Zero game that they've been joking about with their thumbnails.
Oh, nice.
I think it's called Captain Falcon's Space Adventure. It was an amazing joke. I mean, if you've been following Game Explain, it's been an ongoing thing. So I loved how they kind of materialized it into an actual game trailer. It was pretty cool.
I like how they played with the thumbnail is not a spoiler, and it said thumbnail is a spoiler.
Yeah, no,
because usually they're like, thumbnail's not a spoiler, because people get really upset if you spoil things in the thumbnail.
Yeah, it kind of makes me really want an actual F-Zero though. That is something that I've been waiting for such a long time. I really want to see an F-Zero. So in a way, even though I really appreciated the video, it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I was like, oh man, if only there actually was an F-Zero game coming.
I feel like every mention of F-Zero makes me just want it. Every single kind of mention.
It's everyone uses Dark Souls as the benchmark for what a hard game even is, right? F-Zero was before that benchmark. F-Zero is you want a challenging racer? Play F-Zero. And it was the arcade style. It wasn't the racing simulations that we got nowadays that are all the craze. Back when F-Zero was in its prime, it was about the arcade racer. and that's my jam. I love the music. I love everything about it. Like I want an F-Zero so badly. Should just have, next week we should have a podcast just about F-Zero. Just talk about all the nuances of F-Zero. Actually, one interesting thing that I want to cover before we jump into the topics, though, because I mentioned Dark Souls. Have you guys been paying attention to this kind of like, I guess, movement or sort of conversation that's been going on about Sekiro and there maybe being an easy difficulty? A lot of people feel like, there should be an easy difficulty. How do you guys feel about that? Because I love hard games, but I'll let you guys go.
Right. I think an easy mode is probably something that I don't know if they should have done it, but I think it would have been something that would have been nice. Just because I feel like games nowadays, a lot of games focus on being able to be played by everyone, and there's things when you have too hard a difficulty, you cut off a large number of people who just can't play the game because they're not going to be able to finish it, and they're just gonna get in and not even be able to play because it's just too hard for them. And you see a lot of games that are kind of harder, like Celeste. That's a kind of harder platformer game, but it has if you go and it has more accessible things that you can optional things that you can turn on. I don't know exactly sure what they are because I haven't looked, but there are ways to make the game easier. And I feel like we've been talking about Pokemon. We're like, oh, I wish Pokemon had a hard mode because that game's too easy for a lot of us. So I feel like it's just more options for more people to have fun is always a good thing.
An interesting point.
I'm not against the idea of an easy mode per se, but I do think that people who play on the mode that it's meant to be played on needs to be rewarded for it. Because I feel that From Software's whole fan base, or I guess like people who just like difficult games, whether we were talking about From Software or like old school NES games or something, a lot of these people play them because they're difficult. So if we kind of make it so that it's on equal levels, then I feel like it won't be as popular in the difficulty aspect as people would want it to be, I guess. Like, if it's marketed as a difficult game and people like the challenge and like playing it, then those people should be rewarded. Kind of like if you play a Kingdom Hearts game on a harder difficulty, you get a better ending, or like a secret ending, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I kind of see where you both are coming from, and like, I also want to address the side that's like, hey, there should definitely be an easy mode in Sekiro and other hard games because there's just some people who can't handle it. But like, the game is designed to punish you. That is the game. You are meant to die, right? Like, I remember when I played Bloodborne for the first time, I probably would never have figured out how to get to the hub world if I didn't die. Like, it's by design that you die to get to the hub world, right? That's how most people probably get to the hub world for the first time, by dying, right? Like, the game is designed around that, and it's meant to challenge you. That's how it's all kind of created and then thought about. So by creating an easy mode, you're taking away from the design of the game. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and I do agree with that, which is why I feel that the easy mode that I guess like hypothetically they would add to a game like Dark Souls or Sekiro, it needs to be done in such a way that it takes away a good portion of what is the game, in a sense, like the experience of the game.
Which I'm not okay with. Like, the experience of the game is, that's like...
I think that it depends on how much you lower it, because I think obviously if it's for people who have a harder time playing the game, if it's an easier mode, they're probably still going to die a lot just because they're not as good. So that's why the mode exists for them. So obviously you don't want to make it so easy that literally any casual person could pick it up and not die a bunch. You just want to make it easier so that they can actually have a chance at the game, but not so easy that they're not, actually being challenged.
I would be okay with an optional, like, so if you go to, I think Nintendo started doing this, they did definitely start during the Wii days, but one game that I can think of that they were doing it in was the Mario Galaxy games. When you were dying a lot, at some point you would be given a question, hey, do you want help, right? That may be the alternative that could be the happy compromise, right? Where I don't want them to change the game at all, But maybe if the game sees that you're really struggling somewhere, right, more so than what would be considered normal, maybe at that point you get some sort of prompts. It's like, hey, do you want like some sort of tip spirit or something like that could help guide you a little bit more? Maybe that, and that's something that would be optional, and maybe it could even be something that you would be prompted at the beginning of the game if you even want that prompt to ever come up, right? Because some people might even be upset that prompt would even come up sometimes. Sometimes,
yeah, I can see that being annoying.
It bothers me. It's like, hey, what? Especially with Donkey Kong Country, it's like, oh, do you want the Super Kong to help you? No, screw you for even suggesting that. I can handle this, right? Like, I'm actually offended. So I think maybe they could have like a prompt at the beginning of the game where there's a question that comes up to see if you would even want that to come up if you do die a lot. And even when you do die a lot, that's when it comes up if you opt for that part of the game. But in terms of the actual core game experience, it needs to stay the same because that takes away from the vision of what the game is all about. And I'll also say, I don't even think beating Dark Souls or Bloodborne, or I haven't played Sekiro yet, but my interpretation of that, like, I don't think people who beat it are necessarily really good. Right, I think people who play it, like, it's supposed to make everyone feel good. Like, no matter if your skill level, like, if as long as you're a relatively competent gamer, if you play it, and you will eventually beat the game. Like, it's meant to teach you. That's how I feel about it, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, a game like Dark Souls or From Software games, they're specifically designed to give you that rush of I don't know what you call it, like a positive feeling for when you finally beat an area that's just so difficult. Or it just, it gives you that satisfaction. And I feel like if you put it in easy mode, you give players kind of like an easy way out so they don't have to have that feeling.
Yeah. Which I think would just take away from the game. It wouldn't be the same. Right.
And the way I look at it, games like Dark Souls are just, because the design is such a way, they're designed for a specific audience in mind, in a similar way why somebody wouldn't pick up a Kirby game expecting it to be a difficult game.
Right. I'm not buying Yoshi. It's too easy.
Yeah, and
it's not for me.
Like, right, and in that degree, I guess the argument is, do you want those games to be harder and Dark Souls to be easier as like a middle ground for both, or would you rather game developers just kind of stick to what their demographic is or what they're aiming for, I guess?
Right. Yeah, I think some games are just going to have their direction. Like a movie, a painting, music, they have their own artistic direction. And no one really, most of the time, people don't really complain about that artistic direction. It's not necessarily meant for everyone. So I think that's fine. I don't think they should change anything. If the company wants to look at the outcry and decide maybe we should make a compromise, I think the idea I brought up would be the best compromise. But I don't even think that's necessary. I'd be fine. I would be if they never did it. I'd be like 100% okay with that. And so that's where I stand on it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Shifty, you said earlier that they need some kind of incentive for you to play on the normal difficulty, the harder difficulty. Just an idea I had is maybe there's some kind of maybe a second run that you can only access through playing beating the harder difficulty that has different enemies. Maybe they're changed up, or maybe there's a special final secret boss fight that you can unlock if you do the harder difficulty, something like that. I think if they were to give an easy mode to, make you feel like you should play on the harder difficulty so you can unlock the extra content at the end.
So the thing about that, and Shifty, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you know about these games a little bit more than I do, but most of the Souls games have a new game plus already, right? Like you're meant to play through it again. Like there's certain changes and things that you obtain by doing that. So what you're suggesting, right, would be that the easy mode would punish you for not even having that as an option when you beat the game. Right? Is that am I right with the new game plus thing, Shifty?
Well, I'm not specifically saying that to an extent, but there is like a new game plus in Dark Souls and games like that. But you can kind of new game plus that series like 16 times in a row if you want, and it'll progressively like level up the enemies and make them hit harder and that kind of thing. But in terms of what specifically they could do for an easy mode, it could be like a multitude of different things. Realistically, it could be removing that. It could be certain optional bosses are just not in the game in the easier modes, or maybe the ending is different, something like that.
Okay. Even I guess like additional story that you would get by playing the actual normal playthrough would be maybe an appropriate incentive. That's one way to maybe go about it. But let's actually move on to the intended topics, unless there's anything else you guys want to add on that little thing right there. Thing. Yes. Thing. Thing.
No, I don't have anything more to say.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't wait till next year with the Sekiro Game of the Year edition that comes with Ultra Chibi Easy mode.
Oh boy.
I'm being sarcastic. So let me just kind of run through the chat before we jump into the main topic here. But let's see. Recessive Gamer, he's asking or suggesting, what if Monolith is making Breath of the Wild 2 while the regular Zelda team is making the next installment? That's an interesting point. I'm not. I think we'll kind of get into that. I think there's something to what you're saying. I don't know if that's the case, but there's something there maybe. I think we should probably get into a topic so we can give that more context.
Mm-hmm.
But before I do, just to answer Sav's questions, I didn't pick up Yoshi's Crafted World. Like I said earlier, it just seems a bit too easy for me because I have to kind of gauge my time and money and funds. I'm not going to spend $60 on Yoshi's Crafted World. I'm going to save it for something else, maybe Sekiro, right? So, which is kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum here, right? So that's kind of where I stand on it. But from everything I've heard and seen, it seems like a really solid Yoshi game. Yeah. And if you're into Yoshi, okay. All right, what do you think of it?
I guess I was kind of surprised he didn't make this a whole topic, but I guess not all of us bought that, so it makes sense. I thought it was really good if you like Yoshi games. It's not hard, as you said. It's not really hard at all. I feel like the point of Yoshi isn't like to be a challenging in its platformer, but just to be more fun in the way of looking around for collectibles, which I thought was really good. I mean, if you liked Woolly World, you probably really like this a lot. The only thing I didn't like is the music is just okay. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. Unlike Woolly World had a really awesome soundtrack, and this one doesn't. But it's super creative. Every single level feels completely different from the last, and they all have unique theming and unique just gimmicks that make them feel very different and fun. And it's just a really good Yoshi game. If you like Yoshi, I would definitely recommend picking it up.
Okay. I heard that there are 4 secret levels at the end, but there's not much else. So it is about kind of like the experience, right? And every level is very unique. Like when I played the demo, I thought it was interesting. I just didn't think I would enjoy using $60 for it.
I mean, that first level is boring, to be honest. Literally any other level in the game is 10 times more interesting than the first level. So I don't know why that's the level that you play in the demo. It's not a good level. It's very tutorial.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally just exists to get you used to controls, and that's it.
Mm. Yeah, well, I didn't get it either, so.
I see Brandon Stallion saying, hey, Andres, I'm actually different than most people. I actually prefer easy games. And that's 100% fine, right? And that's why, there are games like Yoshi and Kirby, which are easy, but they're really fun experiences, right? And maybe From Software will consider the option to maybe add another easier option in their games. So we'll see. But let's jump into the topic here. So Monolith Soft is working on the next Zelda. A lot of people kind of made this into a very newsworthy thing last week, and when I saw the news, I wasn't like, oh my god, Monolith Soft is working on the next Zelda. I was like, yeah, the next Zelda has been in development. We knew that. Mm-hmm. Monolith Soft worked on Breath of the Wild. They helped out the main Zelda team. They also helped with Skyward Sword. I think I even saw an article recently that they also helped out with A Link Between Worlds. Big shocker, they're helping out with the next one. So
right.
I didn't think it was newsworthy at first. But they are, I'll kind of read who they're hiring, just kind of go over the news here. Let me see. Okay, so Monosoft is looking for the following candidates: a technical artist, programmers, planners, designers, and a project manager. And don't know everything about game development, but that sounds like everything. That sounds like everything. It sounds like they're just kind of get a whole bolstering of the development team for this next project.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really think much of it. Now there's some interesting things that have come up since then that I'll say, but I first want to get your guys' takes on this bit of news right here. What do you guys make of it?
I mean, it was as you said. I'm not super surprised. I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, okay, that makes sense. Um, I don't know. Maybe you could take implications of this and say, try to figure out where in development the game is, because I don't believe Monolith was working on Breath of the Wild during any of the planning stages or anything like that. They were kind of more towards the final stretch, just trying to get the game done. So maybe you could look at this and say, oh, maybe Breath of the Wild's, maybe the sequel's pretty far in development, and maybe it could come out in 2 years or a year or so. Maybe this is indicating that we're in the getting sort of close to the final stretch, or at least the middle of the next Zelda development. But other than that, I'm not sure too much of what you could pull from this.
I like that take. I didn't consider that. I was thinking, oh, well, if they're hiring talent now. To me, I was almost saying, oh, then maybe they're not really that far into development. But if what you're saying is true, and that the Monolith Soft doesn't really come in until in the mid-cycle of the development, then the people they're hiring might just be for the aspects that they've been asked to work on, which could mean that that they are well into development, which I would have expected because Breath of the Wild came out 2 years ago, right? I would imagine we should at least be a year into the development for the next Zelda game, at least a year, maybe more, right? So that actually gives me that's good news. I think you made a great point, Brandon, that they usually come in halfway through development, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I would imagine. That's what I remember from Breath of the Wild. Now, of course, this isn't hard facts because I don't know exactly when they came in, but they're at least done, I would assume, with all of their planning and development, because that's all done for the main Zelda team. Monolith Soft is just the hard work. They're just to get in there and make the vision that the Zelda team has already decided upon, and they don't do any of the design decisions.
Right.
For the most part, they help out a little bit, but
it seems
most
like
of
what
it
they mostly do is the
basic.
environments, right? You look at what they did with the Xenoblade games, right? Look at Xenoblade X, look at Xenoblade 2, look at Xenoblade 1. They were beautiful games with incredible landscapes, and Breath of the Wild is an incredible landscape. In terms of creating these landscapes, I think they're maybe the best in the industry. Their environments are so mountainous and stuff, but they look so unique and exotic, right? But also they feel like beautiful alien or fantasy worlds. I think they're amazing at doing that. So it's probably one of the main reasons why they keep helping out with these Zelda games, because they're so great at creating these giant, beautiful landscapes.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely the best at making very exotic looking locations.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would assume from this news, right, as I think you guys agree with me, that this is just status quo, right? Monolith Soft is helping with the next Zelda as they have with the previous Zeldas, right? Are we on the same page there, basically?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, kind of.
But I guess the one interesting point that you brought up, Brandon, is that they it could mean that they're midway through development rather than early on, because Monolith Soft usually is the supplementary team, not the main team for the project usually.
Right.
Okay. I like that. I think that's cool, because I was thinking, oh, maybe they're not that far into development when I first saw this. So I like that you made that point. But things get a little interesting when you look at some concept art that came from Monolith Soft in 2017, when they said they were going to work on a bold new project that may be different from the previous kind of games they made. They would have kind of a different image for them, right? So Game Explain covered this. They had some interesting theories that came from it, but I'm going to show you guys a couple images. The thumbnail had one of them, right? So hopefully you guys can see this relatively well. Yeah, you guys can see it. So this image is interesting because, one, now I don't know how well it's going to come out on the podcast, but Game Explain found that in the concept art, if you look carefully, there are actually Zelda Triforces and the actual the bird symbol. They're all over. They're all over these ruins. This is a Monolith Soft game concept art from 2017, when they said they were working a bold new project. Okay, think about it. 2017. When did Breath of the Wild come out? 2017. So that's an interesting point, especially when this art literally has Triforces in it, right? But it gets even more interesting when you consider that this actually looks a lot like some things we've seen in both Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. Doesn't this look like the goddess statue?
It does. It looks very similar.
It really does. It's just kind of more like a realistic take. And when you take that into perspective, you know, we did see Link using clothes kind of like this, right? But we just kind of assumed it's more of like just your typical. This almost looks more like a Dark Souls kind of game, right? In terms of like the armor-ish kind of look. But now with this perspective, right, with this confirmation, which wasn't a surprise that Monolith Soft is working on like Zelda, but now we look at the concept art from almost 2 years ago, that they have Triforces and a goddess statue in their concept art. It's kind of crazy. But to add even more fuel to that fire, and by the way, this is not news I'm breaking, right? This is something that Game Explain reported, so I'm not trying to say this is my stuff. That they were the ones that pointed this out. This is another one, right? This is the other concept art. And at first, when we saw this, we talked about it. We thought it was interesting. We didn't think it was that big of a deal at the time, right? Because, you know, whatever. But she looks like Zelda. Like Warrior Princess Zelda. You know, she's got the blonde hair. She's got the sword. She's got a crown. It's interesting. People have been wanting Zelda to be more playable. What if this next Zelda game is being made by Monolith Soft, and they've been working on it for the last couple years, and this is concept art, which has Zelda, like, in warrior mode. That's kind of crazy, right? Like, are you guys feeling me here? Are you guys on the same wavelength as me, or are you guys not really feeling me? Where do you guys stand on this speculation, I guess you should call it?
I mean, it's hard to say. It does look like there could be, you know, Hylian crests on there, but I'm not sure if that means they're working on a Zelda game or not.
I mean, just to be clear, I feel like it's like 100%. It's like maybe because you should watch the Game Explain video, but when you like zoom in, like it's pretty obvious to me that these are Hylian crests with the Triforce on top of it. I don't think it's. I don't really think it's debatable. I mean, it's a little blurry, so I can see where you might make an argument, but I'm looking at it, and there's like 5 different ones, and it seems pretty clear to me. But again, that does also, it is just concept art, right? Like maybe they were just using Zelda as kind of like a mold for their next game, maybe, because they haven't worked on the next Zelda, the previous games, and they have multiple teams.
I just feel like that's such a big deal that I feel like they wouldn't reveal that in a concept art. Like, it's pretty obvious Zelda references in a concept art. It just doesn't. That'd be really weird for them to do that. But I mean, maybe it's just maybe it's a soft tease. It could be. I mean, it's possible they worked on several Zelda games, so they have the know-how. I'm just not convinced that that's what they're doing.
Just to be clear, I don't think that I'm not trying to suggest. Some people are. Some people are trying to suggest that this could mean Monolith Soft is developing Zelda on their own, or mostly on their own. I don't think it's that. I think it's still kind of like a supplementary thing, but maybe it's a bit more of a larger role than before, a bit more. That's what I would think, but it's still kind of like the Zelda team is still working on Zelda. The Zelda team hasn't stopped making Zelda. I don't think it's.
I mean, that's already confirmed. Back in it was like right after the DLC, the final DLC pack came out for Zelda. They confirmed that the Zelda team was working on the next one already, and had been for a few months. So,
I think it's certainly possible that Monolith could be working on something Zelda related at the very least, because we see it was at Cadence of Hyrule. They're giving Zelda to an indie studio, so it is. I think it is very possible that Monolith, especially Monolith, out of all companies, would have some kind of shot at Zelda. I just don't know if it's a whole Zelda game specifically. Maybe a spin-off that takes place in a different perspective. Maybe something like that. I'm not even sure that even looks like Zelda to me. Even like I think that looks like a whole different character.
Okay.
But I do see the Triforce part of it that you and Game Explain mentioned. So I'm not totally against it, because again, the Triforce thing and the Cadence of Hyrule thing makes me think it's very possible Monolith could be working on Zelda. I just don't know, if it's a whole Zelda game in particular.
Right.
Maybe they're working on a spin-off game more with the Xenoblade combat style, but with Zelda characters. More RPG, like Zelda game. I think that'd be really cool.
it'd be interesting, but my takeaway is that they're just working on the next Zelda with the Zelda team. I think it's just a dual team effort. That's what
I think that's
it
what's
is.
most likely happening.
So that's really all it is. But I think the interesting take is that this concept art could give us a hint as to the direction for the next Zelda, right? Do you guys feel me there? Maybe.
Honestly, don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think by that time, this was like right after Breath of the Wild came out. I feel like they wouldn't have concept art for the next Zelda game already ready. Because they go through, when the first year, they just go through so many different ideas. I mean, we saw the concept art for Breath of the Wild. It's just so radically different from the actual game. I feel like finished concept art for the end of the...
Can we look at do you mean like the alien stuff?
Yeah. That's all concept art for Breath of the Wild. So I feel like concept art finished in 2017 that they were willing to release, that just doesn't sound like something they would ever do.
I would disagree a little bit. I think the concept art in Breath of the Wild was a marker for how the game would be. No, we didn't get actual UFOs in the game, but the style was very close to what we got to see in gameplay form in terms of the aesthetic. And while there wasn't UFOs, there was a very ancient alien-like technology inspiration with the Sheikah. Right, so I do think that concept art did translate into we eventually got to play. It wasn't like, oh, for sure this exact scene is going to be in the game, but it was. You can see where they went from that point, right, with their thinking. So I don't entirely disagree with you, but I'm just saying that while this art may not be like, oh, for sure the next Zelda is gonna have Zelda playable as a warrior princess, right? I don't know about that. But the aesthetic, right? I could see how maybe they could go in that direction.
I just feel like Nintendo wouldn't release concept art for that so early. Like concept art for Breath of the Wild didn't come out even till I think it was like 2016. We didn't see it till then.
We got concept art for Skyward Sword years in advance.
True, but that was like a reveal. This is just random. Stuff. This doesn't follow any principles that they would normally do. It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Plus, if you kind of factor in some of the Breath of the Wild artwork was way off what Breath of the Wild ended up being. Like, remember the Guardian artwork, the ones that look kind of Lovecraftian in nature,
like the creepy bug stuff.
Yeah, like things like that.
I really wish they went with that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. I want to pull that up again, actually. Let's just so we can show people
It's so scary.
What should I Google? Breath of the Wild concept art.
I mean, I'd be totally down if they used those designs for any reason, but
we definitely talked about this before. I'm just gonna put it up again though. This is the one I'm pretty sure you're talking about right here. Like this looks like some horror stuff. Yeah. I would have loved to have seen that so much.
Then again, realistic designs like that could fit into the realistic looking design of the Monolith artwork.
Yeah. But then, I mean, we also had concept art like this, which is really cool, but it's not too far off from what we eventually got. I would have liked to see those designs, right? Like this one's obviously like really close. Damn, but this one, look at the bird, right? It's like they look more like cities, you know? Like it almost looks like they had a really big ambition and they had to scale it down.
It's like they had a idea that the Sheikah would be living within them.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of concept art for Breath of the Wild that's like that. It's like even cooler than the actual game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. The idea phase, right? Like, it is the idea phase. So they're throwing out ideas. So, you know, my only point is that you look at that concept art, and I can, minus the horror one, because you're right on 100% on that one. That doesn't really, maybe you could get into the whole bones thing, but it's not. That aesthetic is completely different. I agree with you there. But the other pieces of concept art, you can see where they went, but it wasn't exactly the same. So all I'm getting at is that maybe, I'm hopeful at least, because I want it, that this concept art could maybe be hinting that the next Zelda will be going more for a little bit more of a realistic route. Like,
I would like that.
Like, you know, it's always been fantasy medieval, right? I don't think that I would always define a Zelda game as fantasy medieval, but what's interesting is the Game Explain video, when they talked about this theory, they said, oh, it'd be really cool to see if the next Zelda game was fantasy medieval. A lot of people said the game's already fantasy medieval. I agree. However, I think what he meant was more of the traditional sort of realistic sort of medieval fantasy kind of game, which Zelda's not really gone for. And I'm not saying I want ultra realistic, but maybe a little bit closer to like that Twilight Princess kind of demo where that was going a pseudo realism, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
What comes to mind too is that it looks like it could be more focused on actual war, because you never really like join Hyrule in a war against another country of some kind.
Right.
While in medieval fantasies, that's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So and plus when you look at the artwork of that warrior woman, there's like banners of flags behind her, like rallying behind her too. So it could go in that direction too, I guess.
There's also another one. There's another concept art that they had that's actually, because that concept art you have is actually, it's like half of it. There's another top half with like a giant dragon flying overhead, which is really cool.
Yeah, it has a red dragon. Yeah, which it could be Velu or Volvagia, right? There's a few, or there's even Din Rall, right? There's several red dragons in Zelda. So those are all possibilities. I definitely like the idea of them going more into exploring like the history of war in Hyrule. Like, you had the whole Hyrule Civil War that was referenced in Ocarina of Time. Like, remember the well with all of the chains and the blood on the wall and the skeletons? I believe the theory is that those are Sheikah, right? It was a torture chamber. Like, it's interesting when you look at Breath of the Wild with all the ruins. Like, there's definitely different Zelda games have had nods towards war, right, and devastation, but you're right, we never actually get to see it. I'd love it if there's a Zelda game that sort of took more place with that, right? And this Link that we had in Breath of the Wild was a knight, and normally they don't have, like, there have been Links that were knights, but usually they don't really get into the whole Link's ties to the actual like royalty of Hyrule. That's usually a rare thing they do with the Zelda games. So I would be really interested to see an actual Zelda game that did delve deeper into Link's like connection to the Hyrule family and him being a knight and maybe actually being involved with working with Hyrule and engaging in war for the kingdom. I would love to see that. Kind of basically what happened with Breath of the Wild before the events of Breath of the Wild, the actual prologue. That's what I would like to see for a Zelda game. Right.
Yeah, and I would think that would be a very interesting idea for a lot of different storylines too, because they could not even have Link involved at all. You could play as a knight in the order who has to see Link from a different perspective or something.
Oh, that would be an interesting take. I would prefer to play as Link because I'm a fanboy.
Yeah, I want to play as Link.
Yeah. But I'm also, open to the idea of having multiple playable characters, right? Like, we kind of played around with that a little bit when I can't speak English, and with Wind Waker, right? With Medley and Maker. So I'm not opposed to the idea of maybe Link working with a few other people in the next game. Maybe Zelda will be a playable form, right? Maybe you'll be able to use it at certain times. Like, actually, to kind of delve deeper into this idea, what if Link is a commander, right? And he's mostly in charge. You do most of the exploration with him, but occasionally you have to Link. He makes some commands where you have to send some soldiers, some friends out to do other different tasks. And maybe this is how they open the door to have other playable characters in a Zelda game. How's that sound?
It'd be interesting.
It'd be a different take,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you guys played it on Ni no Kuni 2.
No,
not played it.
It has like something like that where you play as the main character for pretty much the entire game, but there's little instances where you have to command troops and send them out and do different things like that.
Okay, yeah, well, that definitely sounds like pretty much exactly what I'm talking about. So I wouldn't mind it. I'd be into the idea of that at least. Is there anything else you guys sort of take from these pieces of concept art and this news of Monolith Soft working on the next Zelda, or have we pretty much sort of gone through it here?
My personal opinion is that this is not for a Zelda game. I think they're just making a Zelda-ish type game in their own style, a medieval type game, and they were just making references. That's what I personally believe, and I think that them working on the Zelda is just the normal what they did with Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword and Link Between Worlds and stuff like that.
Okay, crazy idea. It is a spin-off, but not quite. It's more like it's set in the Zelda world, and it's a medieval fantasy multiplayer game where it's like all about war.
Be fun.
Because the Monolith Soft, the team's actually like they've played with the idea of MMO-like qualities. Like look at Xenoblade X, right? What if they were to delve deeper in that direction, right? And then they use the Zelda IP, the Zelda world, to sort of flesh that out more. So it's not an actual Zelda game, right? It's kind of like the Cadence of Hyrule thing, right? Where they use some aspects of the Zelda universe for their game. I'd be interested to see that.
I mean, I was just gonna say I'd be open to it, you know, because I like Xenoblade, I like Monolith's work, I like Zelda. So, if Monolith is given the chance to just make a Zelda game, then I'd be for it. Like
Yeah.
I trust their staff basically.
I don't. What I mean is that I trust them, but I think Zelda's at a higher quality level, right? You look at the Xenoblade games, I wouldn't say they quite measure up to that quality level. Now, granted, if it was a Zelda, maybe Nintendo would give them more time, more budget, offer them more staff to help it out to make sure it hits that quality level, right? So maybe that would be the case if Monolith Soft were to be given the full reins here.
Well, I don't think they'll be making a whole, mainline Zelda, title. I think it'd be like a spin-off. And if it's a spin-off, then I'm fine with.
In which case, their quality level is fine with that, right? They would even maybe exceed our expectations. So, I would love to see that. So
my only worry right now is, since they're making the next Zelda game, is that there's going to be another Xenoblade Chronicles 2 situation where they rushed their actual franchises to help because they're sending so many people to make Zelda that the quality level of their actual franchises is hurt in the process. I really hope that this time around they either just, since it's not, the first year of Switch and they don't have to get this game out to bolster that lineup, that they take the time to make sure that their next game and their franchises are up to par. Because I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has a lot of bugs and issues and polish issues.
Right. No, I agree with you that Xenoblade 2 is lacking a bit of polish, but I love the direction of the game. I think they did an amazing job overall. And, you look at what they did with Torna. It sounds like they really polished things up with Torna. It sounds like I played through it. They did. So
I actually prefer Torna over the original.
I've heard a lot of people feel that way. I don't, because Xenoblade 2 is just kind of like a bigger adventure to me. It's kind of has a more of a fuller story, right? Torna is kind of like a half game compared to Xenoblade 2 at least. Maybe even like a third. It's still a long game, but Xenoblade 2 is a long game,
Right.
But yeah, I think when you look at Torna, it's clear that they can make a very polished game. And I think, as time progresses, they're only getting bigger, right? I think they're getting better. I think that was their first foray on the Nintendo Switch. And I think there was a little bit of a rush because they wanted to get it out in the first year. So I'm not too concerned that their next project will lack the polish like Xenoblade 2. And even then, that would still be fine with me. If I get another game of this Xenoblade 2 quality, I'll be 100% okay with that. Xenoblade 2 still probably is my favorite RPG since maybe Xenoblade 1. I mean, that's because I'm a Xenoblade fan, right? It's a good RPG. There's nothing to be disappointed about with that game. Just, it did need a little bit more polish, though. I agree with that.
I like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 also, but I think if there's anything that I really want them to polish, it's just how the game runs on portable mode.
Oh my god, that was abysmal. That was yeah.
I feel like it's because they were rushed and they had to use the X engine instead of making a new engine for the Switch, which is never a good idea. As we've seen, any game that uses the same engine on the Wii U and Switch just has negative implications. I mean, we've seen it for Xenoblade, we've seen it for Zelda. It's just, don't do it. Make a new engine for the Switch. It's not worth it. So I feel like maybe they'll make a new engine for their next games, and we don't have to worry about that as much. So I feel like that engine's just the Wii was just so weird of a system compared to the Switch that I feel like it was not optimized as much as it could have been.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So just a couple little things to end this topic. Two things. Where do you guys stand when we see the next Xenoblade? Not necessarily the next Xenoblade game, the next Monolith Soft game. Gotta throw out a year. You don't have to. You don't have to. You can abstain.
I mean, how long are the development cycles normally?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out pretty close to X.
It's like,
yeah, but X took a while.
Yeah, X took a long time, but it was also like one of the biggest open worlds we've ever seen. So, like that took a long time. It was a huge game.
I think
but,
3
but
years.
I think we have a much better idea of the.
Let me just see if we can address those questions. Xenoblade X announced.
I think it was 2 years between X and 2 or 3.
I want to say that Xenoblade X was announced. The game was first announced in 2013 under the working title of X, and it came out 2015. So even though it felt like a long time, it came out 2 years after.
Yeah, but I think the original Xenoblade came out in what, 2011?
Yeah.
So,
right. So from announcement to release, it was 2 years, right? Before, we don't know how long it was. So that's at least a 4-year window, right?
Yeah, I had a 4-year development cycle, but Xenoblade 2 came on just 2 years later. So
right.
It just depends on the scope.
Years,
if they want to make an X game,
because it came out April 2015.
Right. If they want to make an X-size game, we're 3 to 4 years. If they want to make a Xenoblade 2 size game, I'd say just 2 to 3. So it depends on their vision.
I'll say 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking after Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they might want to go in the opposite direction. The next one.
Yeah, maybe. I think. Yeah. I think wouldn't shock me if we see a game announced next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Next E3 we'll probably see it.
Basically, 2020, 21. It's one of those 2 years. That's pretty much it.
I think so.
So the next question then. When do you think we'll see the next 3D Zelda that's meant to be the successor for the Breath of the Wild, the mainline Zelda games?
It depends. I don't think they'll show it as early as we saw Breath of the Wild. But I'm not quite convinced that it will be on the same year either.
I think there is a possibility we will see the game announced next year. I think there's a small chance that it comes out next year because Breath of the Wild came out early 2017, not at the end of 2017. So if it came out holiday 2020, that'd be a 3.5-year window, which would be short when you consider the other Zelda cycles. But if you go earlier into the 3D Zelda history, like Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, they had 2-year development cycles, basically-ish. If they are reusing a lot of aspects of Breath of the Wild, at least the engine, that would expedite the process a bit. So holiday 2020, I think, is possible for the next Zelda game. So if I wouldn't be shocked if we see it revealed next year around E3 time and it comes out holiday 2020. But that's like the earliest I expect it. 2021 is also, a prime candidate. And considering the history of Zelda delays, 2022 is also a prime candidate as well.
I think it will be 2021.
Okay.
It totally depends if they reuse assets or not.
Right.
Honestly. Because the way I look at it, I just expect the worst when it comes to development cycles for Zelda. So I just expect 2022 or even later or something.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. My thought is just that even if they do reuse the engine, I think they're gonna heavily modify it to work better.
Right. It's not gonna just be like Assassin's Creed to next Assassin's Creed kind of thing. It's gonna be more modified than that. I agree.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think we'll probably, I don't know. Never mind. But yeah, I think they're gonna really change the engine because it's not very compatible. As I said before, Wii U engines just aren't that compatible with Switch. With just the architecture is completely different, CPU setup's different, RAM sizes are different. It's just a very different machine in every aspect. So it's gonna look and run way better if they really change the engine a lot. So I think even if they use the same art style, I think it's gonna look and run a lot better than Zelda Breath of the Wild does on the Switch. So I think they'll spend time to make it have an extra bit of graphical finesse compared to Breath of the Wild.
Okay. So I want to get to the chat. Some of you guys have brought up some interesting points. So unless there's anything else you guys want to mention before we jump into it.
No.
Okay. All right. Shifty, anything?
I would just say I'm just expecting the worst when it comes to Zelda in terms of development cycles with all these spin-offs too.
Right. No, I'm a bit optimistic. So, like I said, I think the window is holiday 2020 to holiday 2022. That's the window. And like you said, it kind of depends on what direction they're going with. If they are reusing assets, things like that. That's where I kind of stand.
Right.
So, let me see. We're getting to the chat now. So, One Happy, he mentioned this a while ago, but I was going to address it. He said, "Please, no more Zelda. We don't need more Zelda." I disagree. Zelda is always great.
It's the opposite of the truth. We need more Zelda. Zelda every year,
We didn't get any Zelda last year, did we?
No.
No. So this year we're getting a
Hyrule Warriors port, but
doesn't count. To me, it doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
It counts to someone.
Somebody thinks it counts, but
yeah.
I mean, we get several Mario games a year, and that doesn't impact my enjoyment of the mainline Mario games.
I mean, this year we're also getting with Cadence of Hyrule and Link's Awakening.
And that's fine. I think that'll appease to my Zelda fandom a little bit, but at the same time, it's not 3D Zelda. It's a different thing. It's a different game.
There's a 2D Zelda remake, and then there's this Zelda rhythm thing.
Yeah.
So
a spin-off, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
not scratching that 3D Zelda itch.
It'd be one thing if it was Breath of the Wild and then Breath of the Wild 1.5 the next year and then Breath of the Wild 1.6. Like it's not like Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed where they have a new Assassin's Creed reusing the same engine with very minor modifications every year. Right? They're still going to take multiple years to make the mainline entry. The other Zelda titles are they're not just basically, they are different games.
Right.
So,
they feel very different. I
don't feel like, they are oversaturating the industry with Zelda. I mean, they do it with Mario, and I think it's fine with Mario. So, I'm not worried about that.
Right.
I do agree with Robier, though. He's saying we do need, for sure, something about Metroid. There's no Metroid, man. We need more Metroid, okay? Like, seriously. Like, I understand there's a strong possibility that Metroid Prime Trilogy HD was delayed, assuming it's real, because Metroid Prime 4, they want to be closer to its release. But seriously? Like, I really don't feel like that's necessary. Like, if they had it planned for this year, I still think it makes sense for it to come out this year, especially because there's still talk about Metroid this year, right? The Metroid fans
I feel like you gotta appease the fans who are butthurt about Metroid Prime 4.
I feel like, if anything, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD would sell better because of the butthurtness of Metroid Prime 4 delay.
I think it would.
Right?
So it's coming out this year.
Maybe Nintendo realizes that, and they're really just holding back the announcement for whenever it's going to happen, right? Like, I did bring up last week that maybe May is that time slot, right? It is possible. There are signs pointing towards the Nintendo Direct, maybe around April 15. So, fingers crossed. I mean, that's pretty much my only hope, though. Like, if it's not announced in the next Nintendo Direct within the next few weeks and it comes out in May, I have zero hope that this is happening. Like, the second half of the year is just way too packed for it to be anything else.
They're probably just trying to space out the Metroid announcements because once Metroid Prime 4 got delayed and they were sure they were gonna delay it and restart development, they were probably thinking, "Oh, when do we announce the trilogy then? When do we release the trilogy?" They're probably thinking like, "Oh, we don't want to, piss off the fans who wanted 4 and we give them this instead." So they're probably trying to space it out. Maybe what they can do is release the trilogy and then maybe the year after have Mercury Stream, the guys who helped with Samus
Returns. I think they're working on a 2D Metroid.
Yeah, have them work on, I don't know, a Metroid Fusion thing or a new 2D Metroid or something along those lines.
Right.
I feel pretty confident in saying that they are working on a 2D Metroid.
That's hope.
What? What would you say, Brandon? I didn't hear you.
Me?
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said that's the hope.
Yeah, that's the hope.
I mean, I'll say this much though. Like, I love Metroid and Castlevania.
Yeah.
And with me, because of Mercury Stream, I feel very 50-50 on them because they did great on Metroid, but I did not like their work on Castlevania.
Right. And the point to be made for Metroid, that was a remake of a game that was, they just had to basically polish it up and sort of modernize it, right? The base game was already there. But I do think that that was kind of a testing ground for them, and I think that, Nintendo's closely watching it. They liked what they did with that. So, I think it's kind of more like they just need direction, maybe is what it is, right? Like, they have the talent, but they just need, like, a right coach. Like, whenever you have a good, like, a sports team, sometimes when you change the coach, their record's dramatically better, right? So sometimes they just need a little bit better direction. It's not necessarily that talent isn't good. It just needs a better direction, and I think they proved that with Metroid Samus Returns, hopefully, right? And with the next Metroid game, it's pretty good. So, and also I will say that while, I'm not trying to say that that 2D games are lesser, I do feel like a 2D game is easier to sort of meet expectations than a 3D one, right? There's less to figure out. There's kind of more of an established formula that will work out for a 2D Metroid game as opposed to a 3D one. So, I'm just saying, like, I think the expectation isn't as high for a 2D Metroid game, so thus it's easier to meet that expectation. So I'm optimistic.
Right. I just think that they're probably trying to space things out because they know that Metroid Prime 4 is going to take a while, and they know that fans were expecting it a lot earlier than it is going to release. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if they use the HD trilogy and whatever Mercury Stream could be working on as like a way to space things out.
And you could have one come out each year. But maybe this is a year longer, right? So my dream scenario at this point, right, is that Prime Trilogy comes out this year, 2D Metroid next year by Mercury Stream, and then the year after being Prime 4, which would mean 2021. It's entirely possible that Prime 4 could be a year later than that, right? In which case, they have a year where they don't have any Metroid. So maybe they have to space it out where it's Prime Trilogy next year and then the 2D Metroid or vice versa.
And if that is the case, I would probably say, obviously we don't know their 2020 plans, but I would say just from what we do know of this year, I feel like next year might be a better time to put the trilogy if they do want to if they have to have an off year, this year might be the better time to have a Metroid off year than next year. But of course, maybe 2020 is packed as well. Who knows?
Yeah. And I want to say that, while we haven't gotten an announcement, that doesn't mean it's not planned, right? We don't know what Nintendo's planning. As we saw with Labo VR, they announced it a month before its release. So it's possible they have a game ready for May, and we just don't know about it yet. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll find out eventually. So, but let's continue to move down the chat a little bit before we get to the next topic. Let's see where we're going. Hey, Sinus Joe, how you doing, man? So, NAK was saying, how would you react if Monokuma was DLC in Smash? Do you guys know who that is?
No.
Shifty?
Monokuma.
Wait, who?
Monokuma.
Monokuma.
Or Monokuma.
Slap that in the
is that a Danganronpa thing?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, the bear.
I watched that anime a while ago. I never played the games. I thought the anime was good.
The bear, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. It's kind of like an anime-ish. It's a video game. It's a video game that was translated into an anime, so it's not like the whole Goku situation where anime translated into a video game. So because it's rooted to video game, I guess the window is open for it. But I would say of all of the characters that can make it, and I would say that he's pretty low on the list.
I don't even. Are those games even that popular? I have no idea.
I would say they're niche, but that doesn't. There are other niche things that make you into Smash, so I wouldn't say that's like the confirmation. But I mean, if you look at what we're getting, like I think the characters have to be pretty known, and this character is not known, so I don't really see it happening. Just to be frank. but I did like the Danganronpa anime, and I thought it was cool. So
I feel like the niche characters in Smash mostly have very big histories. So with
Right.
Nintendo, this character is niche and it doesn't really have anything to do with Nintendo. Like I could maybe if it was a popular character, then it doesn't really matter. You know, like Joker, not really big on Nintendo, but it's a very popular character. So, but this is just like doesn't fit any of the requirements that I would think
right.
would make them good candidates for Smash.
Okay. So Roby, you're saying I want a Smash DLC where Samus has new suit models. They could add Metroid Fusion suits or Metroid Prime 1-2 suits. I want more Metroid suits. There's so many different Metroid suits that they could put in as costumes, and they haven't. It's such a missed opportunity. They need to add some Metroid Prime suits. I would pay money for that. 100% with you on there, Robier.
They could totally do like a cosmetic DLC where just a bunch of characters get, you know, well-known outfits from their other games.
Yeah.
I want a low poly DLC. Everyone's like N64 looking.
Yeah, that's highly requested. That's come up a lot. I'd be interested as well. If it's like a whole cosmetic package where several characters get several costumes, I'd pay money for that. I think it'd be really cool to see. And the thing with Smash Ultimate is it is being treated as kind of like Splatoon, where it's going to be getting updates for a while, for at least for a few years, it seems. So, you know, even if it's not within this first Challengers Pass, I expect there to be other updates. Maybe they won't be as major, but I do think there's going to be updates and things throughout the next few years, and they're going to use it to sort of advertise other games. Like they've had Spirit events to sort of, you know, advertise other games that are coming out, things of that nature. So maybe, you know, it is sort of used to sort of hype up Metroid Prime 4 at some point. I would love to see that, Robier. So Brandon Stallion's asking me a question. So hey Andres, do you think that Diamond and Pearl remakes will be announced next February and they are made in the same engine as Sword and Shield? It's an interesting question, and I think it's definitely an option, but I think the other option is also a Let's Go version of Johto. So, you know, I don't know what to say. I think it's kind of one or the other, right? And it's also possible that we get a year break for Pokemon. We haven't gotten a year break in a while. Maybe that's just their philosophy now. Like they've gotten to the point with their development with their different teams that they can afford to make a different Pokemon game every year. So maybe there won't be a year break. But I do think that the next Pokemon game, I don't know, it's hard to say because they could also pull an Ultra Sun and Moon situation where they just have kind of like a remixed Sword and Shield the next year. I would I would say there's 4 outcomes for 2020 Pokemon, right? There's the outcome of there being no Pokemon game, right? There's the outcome of them simply remixing Sword and Shield, right? There's the outcome of it being Let's Go Johto, right? And then there's the outcome of a Diamond and Pearl remake. So if you want to just break it down like that, I would say there's at least a 25% chance of Diamond and Pearl remakes next year. So, you know, but of course, it's not actually 25%. It's kind of hard to gauge which of those 4 outcomes is the most likely. But I think those are all the possibilities.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think that Sword and Shield will likely get a 3rd version.
Okay.
I wonder what it'd be called though, like Staff.
Done.
Pokemon Staff. Pokemon Mace.
Pokemon Wizard.
It could be something that's... I don't... It might just be called Pokemon Sword and Shield 2.
They could do that. That'd be fine with that.
They did Pokemon Black White too.
Yeah.
Right? And they did Ultra Sun and Moon. You know, it was just Ultra. They just added Ultra. So they could do like Pokemon Sword Hyper, Pokemon Hyper Shield. Like they could do that, or Pokemon Sword Unbreakable, or you know, like something, you know, like that. Like so.
Pokemon Sharpened Sword and Hardened Shield.
Something like that. Yeah. That's what I think it could be if they were to do a remix. And actually, yeah, that's pretty much what I think. For Gen 7, we got Ultra. For Gen 6, there wasn't a remix. I think we just got Oris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't there usually a 3rd version, though?
Yeah, I think they're like the only generation that didn't get anything.
Yeah, so...
Gen 6.
Yeah, Gen 7 got Ultra Sun and Moon, which is 2 versions, actually, right?
Right. That was like 4 versions for that gen, which was
like you guys said, X and Y, there was nothing. There were just, the remakes for Gen 3. For Gen 5, we got Black, White 1 and 2, 2. So that was 4 versions for that gen. Gen 4 was the last of getting a tertiary version. We had Platinum. Then for Gen 3, we had Emerald. And for Gen 2, we had Crystal. And Gen 1, we had Yellow. So after we haven't gotten a third version since Gen 4. That was years ago. Since
but we usually at least
Platinum.
get, if not a third version, we usually get 4 versions.
I liked what they did with Black. I think Black and White 2 was the best one because it was actually like a successor. It was a new story. 2 years afterward, they added half a new region. That was an interesting take. I like that direction for the Pokemon remixes or whatever you want to call it. I don't like it when it's Ultra Sun and Moon where it's the same game. Basically, it was the same game world. Just they told the story differently. I heard the story was worse.
Yeah, that's what I heard. They messed up the story, so I feel like they won't do the Ultra Path again because I feel like a lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, I felt like the story in Sun and Moon was just always bad. Like I didn't like it in the original game. I didn't like it in Ultra.
I didn't love it. Like it was The Promised Neverland, which is an amazing story for an anime. You guys should definitely check it out. The Promised Neverland, mind blowing. But I really got attached to Lily. I thought she was a great character. Like I actually felt sad when she left at the end of the game. Oops, it came out years ago.
Oh,
spoilers.
Yeah,
because not everybody knows that.
2016 came out. 2016. Just saying.
I knew that, and I've never even played the game, so.
Yeah. But the point is that it's I thought there was some good elements to the story in Sun and Moon. So, I hope the next game has better story. I have high expectations for Sword and Shield. I think they are upping the ante in some ways at least. So hopefully that includes a better story.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of the problems with the story was more of just like how they handled the Ultra Beasts and how they handled like the villain, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Then again, you already spoiled the things. I guess I could just say it, but how they handled Lusamine and that scene when she revealed the whole thing, like when it got to that point forward, the whole story just didn't matter to me.
Right. I think it kind of just was. They simplified the situation. There's so much they could have done with that spin, right? That they did very little with. Like I feel like they were teasing more like deeper, darker things, and they just.
It's like Breath of the Wild.
I think it's worse. It's worse. But yeah, it's kind of like almost like they were suggesting something much more and they didn't get to it. That was disappointing to me. And then the post game I felt was very underwhelming. I like having a good post game. I'll also say that I'm almost like kind of never satisfied with the endings for any Pokemon game because I always want more. But like at least like with Gen 2, right? Gen 2, Soul Silver Heart Gold, were the remakes for them. I felt like, which it's kind of like the original post game, because Gen 1 didn't really have a post game, but Gen 2 did because you could go back to Kanto. That whole adventure and then ending it with that epic Mount Silver battle is just a beautiful thing. I really hope they kind of go back to that sort of way of thinking where they kind of offer like a second adventure that obviously wouldn't take as long, but would still be really cool, and then have like ended on one epic climactic moment that kind of brings everything full circle, right? That was the beauty of like the Gen 2 post game. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sort of. I know about it, and I feel like for that reason, Gen 2 is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite, just because I've never been into competitive battling. I'm still not. So post games that kind of focus on that aspect of Pokemon just doesn't interest me. I just don't bother with them.
Did you like Gen 4 then?
Gen 4, just Diamond and Pearl specifically, was probably some of my least favorite like game time with Pokemon. I actually ended up taking a break from Pokemon around then.
Interesting, because Pearl and Diamond were kind of like my resurgence games. Like I kind of slowed down during the Gen 3 era, mainly because I just didn't have a Game Boy Advance. It took me a couple of years to get that, but Gen 4, I really love them. I love the region. I love the music. I love the Pokemon designs. And that's what kind of brought me into competitive battling, seeing the nutrients and then noticing, hey, I can kind of focus on physical attack and defense and things like that. And then going into the Battle Frontier island, the post game wasn't like a whole other region, but it was like a whole island with a few different towns that had a bit of a story to it. That was interesting. I wanted there to be a little bit more of that too, though, admittedly. But part of it, what made it interesting, was kind of getting into the battle tower and getting more into the competitive aspect. So I kind of see what you're saying. For me, it made sense, but if you weren't into that, you know, the story probably just felt lukewarm.
Yeah, for me, story-wise, and the game that brought me back into Pokemon was Gen 5.
Right, arguably has the best story for Pokemon games.
Yeah, and I do agree, it does have the best story for Pokemon games. So I guess, like, in that sense, when I play a Pokemon game, I go for the adventure and the, you know, collecting the Pokemon and whatnot. I'm not really a competitive player. So, you know, Gen 5 had the good story. I had, like, some of the designs of the Pokemon. It had, like, this really, you know, had a continuation of that story that I enjoyed so much. So it, you know, it was something that really appealed to me.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to be, while you're talking about Pokemon and reading the chat, I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
So.
I got you, buddy.
Be back just real quick, guys. You guys can keep talking about what you're gonna talk about Pokemon and stuff. So.
Let's stop everything.
Stop everything! I have to go do something.
Sorry.
Shut it down!
We're good.
Yeah, I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I'm gonna be right back.
That's
so.
fine.
Sorry.
All right, just do what you gotta do, man. So, you know, just to kind of finish up this one little part, though, how do you feel about Pearl Diamond remakes, Shifty? Would you want to see them, or because you never really liked the story, because how they usually pretty much stick to the story, maybe they'll add a little bit of something at the end, like, would you even be excited for them?
I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't be excited. I'll be open to it, though, because the way I look at it, they could just improve on it. They could improve on the things I didn't like about it. Because when it comes to, Wind Waker comes to mind. Wind Waker, it wasn't my favorite Zelda. I didn't hate it. I liked it. But I really did not like how the sales were kind of, like, tedious. I didn't like the Triforce collecting part of it. It was just really tedious. I just felt like there was a lot of parts of that game that felt tedious.
Yeah, I see.
So, you know, the remake kind of fixed a lot of those
How did
things.
you feel about the Delta episode in Oris?
I liked it.
Yeah, and I didn't play Emerald, but I'm pretty sure that was also in Emerald, the original, right? I don't know if you can verify that for me. I'm pretty sure it was.
The Delta episode, the whole, like,
the whole Rayquaza thing in space and
Zinnia and all that.
Yeah,
I don't think that was an Emerald.
well, regardless of if it was or not, adding that, like having that little additional campaign, I think could be one way they could make Pearl and Diamond just more interesting. Where add a little bit more of a little mini campaign at the end, you know, to give the game a bit more of an interesting take. I would really appreciate that, because I personally love the region a lot. I love the design, so I would love to go back to Sinnoh a lot. So I do hope they are remade. I just don't know if it's next year. It's possible. Yeah. It's one of the options.
Yeah, I really don't know either. And personally, any post game that adds more story is automatically going to be done by myself. Like, I love Delta episode. I liked Rainbow Rocket. Mm-hmm. So those things I'll do, but anything that focuses on the competitive part of it, I'm just not going to bother.
Got you. Okay, so let's continue down chat, though. Yeah, so, let me see. You guys are talking about Joker a little bit. Yeah, we're going to get into Joker in a bit. So, Sal was saying, I keep hearing rumors that we're getting another Direct this month, so I'm pretty sure it'll be a Smash Direct.
It's very possible.
I definitely think it's a Nintendo Direct. I was talking about there being a Nintendo Direct this month before all the rumors, and now there's rumors coming out to support that. I think it's just, if you look at the history of Nintendo Directs, like I talked about this last week, right? Where I went back and I looked at how there's 2 Nintendo Directs usually before E3, not counting minis and things of that nature usually. And we got one in February, and when there was a February Nintendo Direct going throughout over the years, there's usually one in April. So I think there could be one in April. It could be a Smash-focused Direct. Definitely possible. We know we're going to getting some updates for that. But we know Joker is imminent. So I think it's highly likely that there's a Direct this month. And Reggie is officially leaving on the 15th. Maybe he'll be featured in that Direct, and there'll be, like, some sort of send-off announcement to be like, hey, I got you guys like a Prime Trilogy HD or a
Mother 3,
or Mother 3, right? Because he's had several quotes and interviews where he's talked about both of those games, right? So people sort of look to Reggie for hope for those two different games. So maybe he'll have an announcement related to one of those two, and maybe that's why Metroid Prime Trilogy HD hasn't been announced yet. Because maybe his send off was like, hey, so I know you guys are bummed out about this, but as my farewell, here you go. Prime Trilogy HD. Or Mother 3. One or the other. We kind of been, waiting on both here, so, or what if it's both? Oh, man. That'd be epic. Oh, God. That'd be so cool.
The hype.
That'd be pretty cool. And he would his Legend status would go to Legend Plus status. And just rides off into the sunset. It'd be so amazing.
He just shadow drops Mother 3 at the end of the direct and announces Metroid Prime for later.
That's it. That is it. That's what it could be. That would be epic, bro. Oh my god. Like if it was a 2-minute direct and that's all he did, that's all I would need. That'd be perfect. That'd be it. But if you pair that, which is obviously, speculation, wishful thinking, but not impossible, right? It's not impossible. That along with Smash updates, dude, that might be better than the February Nintendo Direct. I mean, it would depend on what kind of games you're into, but it'd be competitive. So oh man, I'm excited thinking about it.
Certain dream scenario.
Yeah, it's a dream scenario. Absolutely a dream scenario for sure. So don't expect that. I don't want everyone to be disappointed when that doesn't happen. But anything's
Where's
possible.
Mother 3?
And then lasers come out of the screen and annihilate us, just like in that E3 Robot Chicken video, which is beautiful.
I mean, yeah, there's already the inevitable disappointment when they don't announce or they don't show off Animal Crossing at the next direct because it will likely be at E3 instead.
Mm-hmm. Just to answer Joe's question, what is the date of Reggie's official retirement? April 15th, I believe, which is also tax day. I brought this up before, but it just adds another little wrinkle. So Reggie's retirement, I believe, is April 15th. I'll have to double check that, though. It might be confusing with the tax deadline, but the tax deadline is also the 15th. But guess what, guys? A week or so ago, when I made the whole video talking about Nintendo Direct in April, Nintendo had a tweet with Tom Nook talking about our tax deadline, and he could help us out with it. So what if it's a tease, right? The tax deadline is the 15th. Tom Nook, Animal Crossing reveal, Nintendo Direct, Smash information, Reggie leaving, announcing Mother 3, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD. Is this a dream scenario? 100%. Am I fanboying hardcore? 100%. Can this happen? Maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it like that. Maybe one or two of those things, but not all of it. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, I would not be too surprised if that was some kind of Animal Crossing tease. And I mean, as I said last week, it's very possible that they could be getting a lot of the big game announcements out of the way that they could really focus on showing off the Switch Mini and Switch Pro during E3, assuming that rumor is true, that they're gonna come out with both of those this year.
And just to verify, because I said I wasn't 100% sure, it is April 15th that Reggie is stepping down, which is the same day as the tax deadline. So yeah. So, fingers crossed, guys. We get something interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we can move on to the next topic, though. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you guys want me to sort of reference in the chat? Because I know we took a little while with that last topic.
Don't see anything.
You guys into Mario and Sonic at the 2020 Olympics?
No.
I think it exists, and that is it. As far as I'm concerned,
it is in fact a thing.
You're right. It is a video game.
It is a video game that people play, and I'm really excited because I believe the Olympics are in Japan. I don't think I have the money or the time to do it, but I would love to go to Japan next year and be there for the Olympics. The opening of the Nintendo Universal Park, which they are trying to get done by the time of the Olympic. Can you imagine going to Japan just for Japan, which is an amazing thing in and of itself, but then also for the Olympics, which is also amazing, but then also for the Nintendo Universal Park? Like, that would be the dream trip. Is it possible?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but I'm poor, and I probably should have bought tickets for this a while ago already.
This is why we need YouTube to just really take off. We all need 1 million subscribers, and then we can all go.
Yeah.
Exactly why I didn't go to PAX East.
one more thing that I see Joe saying, they can make a sort of Delta story type thing at the end where you go to the distortion world and catch Giratina. Yeah, actually, that we were kind of talking about the possibility of adding like an additional story at the end of Gen 4 if they do have Pearl and Diamond remakes. I would love that. I hope that happens. And actually, that makes sense because if there was Platinum, they might want to include that as well. There's something they could do there for sure. Yeah, I think that's fairly likely if there's a Pearl and Diamond remake, which is a possibility. But again, there's other possibilities, so we'll see.
Right.
But let's.
Sabbath says no anime direct this time, please. And I'm severely offended because anime directs are best directs.
Yes.
Out there.
Yes.
What's wrong with a good JRPG?
Yeah, man.
Robier is piling on. You're saying, not trying to sound like a hater, but no more anime characters in Smash, please.
My Rex and Pyra dreams.
What about Rex and Pyra? Yeah. I wouldn't kill for anything, but if I were to, it'd be for Rex and Pyra in Smash.
Yeah.
I'm obviously joking, but just I would love that. Rex and Pyra. Caleb's right there with us. Exactly. Give us Rex and Pyra. But let's go over this topic. I don't know how long this one's gonna be, but we saw a trailer for Youngblood, Wolfenstein Youngblood. I thought it looked pretty good. It was interesting to see that it's the daughters of Vlaskowitz, if I get his name right. And I enjoyed Wolfenstein 2. I thought it was a pretty good game. I actually played it for Switch. I got a review copy for that. That was cool. The game was fun. I enjoyed it, and I'd be interested to see how Youngblood plays out. I think it looks like they're doing some sort of co-op-ish, because there's the two daughters of Vlaskowitz. They're the characters you play. Right. They're wearing the suit, and they're pretty badass.
There's actually an edition where if you get it, you get a free copy to give to your friend, so that way you can both play.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really interesting. I didn't hear about that. Wow.
Deluxe edition, you can.
That is cool.
I believe they can't play it by themselves, but if they're playing with you, then they can play the whole game.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think the game looks interesting. I'm glad that it's another Switch game that's coming out day and date. We're getting Mortal Kombat 11 day and date. Right? I don't know if it's confirmed, but Doom Eternal. It seems like it's going to be a day and date release with the Switch.
I think that's what they've been saying.
Yeah, so, I love where the Switch is going, right? And people like to complain about the graphics, but let's also point out that it seems highly likely at this point that there's going to be a Switch Mini of sorts and a Switch Pro of sorts, and I imagine the Switch Pro is going to... I prefer to call them Switch Plus and Minus.
Right.
But, the Wall Street Journal, Eurogamer, it seems highly likely that they're coming. And with this Switch Plus, I do think the games are going to run and look a little bit better, right? So, for those who kind of want that more comparable experience to the other consoles, that may become an option as well later in the year. And I'm really liking what's happening here. It's great. It's great, man. I love it. What do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about Youngblood or anything else that I just brought up?
Yeah.
Well, on my end, I'm pretty into Bethesda games, or I guess like Bethesda published games for the most part. Like I love Elder Scrolls, I love Fallout. Well, not 76, but I love Fallout. I love Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, like all of those like games. So for me, I'm just totally on board, and I'm getting this like day one.
Right. Yeah, I would say the game for out of the companies that I respect the most as publishers, obviously Nintendo's number one, but I would say Bethesda and Capcom are up there. Now Capcom's both Bethesda and Capcom have been kind of on the down lately, but more recently Capcom's been doing well because we got Resident Evil 2 remake, right? And that's doing really, really good. And I love From Software games as well, like what they do with the Souls games is incredible, and Sekiro is getting a lot of praise. So those are kind of like my favorite like gaming companies. Platinum Games is also special.
Platinum Games is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think like Bethesda's definitely up there for me. In terms of third-party publishers, they're probably my favorite. I do feel like Fallout 76 was a massive blunder on their end.
But it was it was a blunder. It's not the norm for them.
Yeah, it's not the norm. Like I unironically play because I know this is another game that got a lot of flack. Elder Scrolls Online, their MMO game. Yeah. I unironically play that, and I have like probably over 300 or something hours logged into it.
That's a lot of hours. That.
Yeah.
But hey, Skyrim's that kind of game, dude. I didn't play the online version though. So Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how Youngblood's gonna run on the Switch, though. I have hope that it's gonna be a better situation than what Wolfenstein 2 was on the Switch. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they had a bunch of patches for Wolfenstein 2 that just make it way better than it was. It's a much smoother frame rate. The resolution sticks much closer to 720p now. It doesn't look nearly as bad as when we were playing it, Andres.
Yeah.
So I actually went back and played through some of the levels because I had multiple saves already open for like every level for gameplay for my review. So I just went back and played through those levels again just to see how it looked, and it did look a lot better. So I am thinking that this one is just going to be a lot more polished out of the gate. So I'm hoping it's going to be a better situation than Wolfenstein 2.
Okay.
I mean,
And this isn't one of those times where they're just porting it after the fact. They've been, making this version alongside the other versions. So they're going to be optimizing it the whole way through instead of just getting a finished product and changing it towards, for the Switch. That's going to make a big difference, I think.
Okay.
yeah, that's true, and I do hope it is better than Wolfenstein 2 because I didn't play Wolfenstein 2 on Switch, so I don't actually know, personally how well it runs. But I do own Doom, and I do like Doom on Switch, but it could be better.
Yeah. Wolfenstein 2 on launch was worse than Doom by a lot. And then the patches came out, and now it's about comparable to Doom. But I would say the frame rate drops a lot less in Wolfenstein 2. It's a very solid 30 in most levels.
Okay, so if that's the case, it's good enough for me then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I'm interested to see that. Did you guys hear? You guys probably did, maybe, that Mortal Kombat is going to be hitting 60 FPS on the Switch as well.
I did hear about that.
That's interesting because most of the multi-plats that do come to Switch, they're like, okay, so the way we're gonna get to run on Switch is run it at a really low resolution, diminish the textures and put it up 30. This game's running at 60.
Yeah, I think for this game,
it's a fighting game, which is kind of
a fighting game. It has to be 60. I also think this is a game that was. I think they said that they had a different I can't remember if this or Doom Eternal, but they had a separate development team working on it instead of the main development team, like a whole other team working on this version.
And they had it in mind for earlier on, right?
Yeah, so they have a whole team for this. They've been working on it for much longer than the other, the panic button ports, and it's during development instead of taking it afterwards. So I think those are kind of things that are really helping this game to get to that 60 FPS. Plus it's as you said, it's a fighting game, so that's their main goal. With Wolfenstein and Doom, their main goal was to keep graphical fidelity the same, like in terms of overall like particle effects and like the types of things that were going on the same, and just drop like resolution and textures, like the quality of those effects, but keep every single effect in. I think in this one they're probably gonna remove certain things and really tweak it with it more than Doom and Wolfenstein. That way they can keep the frame rate higher than those games.
Who's developing more? It's not Panic, but it's developing Mortal Kombat version of the Switch.
It's not. It's a separate team.
Try and find their name real quick. I saw it somewhere, but I just didn't.
I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I remember covering it, but I don't remember what it was.
Shiver Entertainment?
Yes, Shiver Studios or Shiver Entertainment.
Yeah, I'm reading it here on NintendoLife.com.
It
says, GameStop also reports that the fighting mechanics are clearly the priority with Shiver Entertainment. So, there you go.
Yeah, so it was Mortal Kombat 11 that they had a separate studio working on it, so yeah. And they said at PAX, I think it was, where they were showcasing the demo, they said that their goal was to hit a rock solid 60 FPS. That's their biggest goal for the game, which makes sense because it's a fighting game. So
yeah, no, for sure. So I'm interested to see how Youngblood plays out. I'm interested to see how Mortal Kombat plays out. That's coming out even sooner. So Mortal Kombat comes out April 23rd, I believe, and then Youngblood comes out July 26th. I'm waiting on that Doom Eternal one. That one's really interesting to me. I'm more interested in Doom Eternal than the other two games. So I'm curious about that. Has Dragon's Dogma come out, by the way?
Not yet.
Not yet. Do we have a date for that? I'm not kind of interested in that as well.
I think that's it's either April or May.
Yeah, I'm looking for a date right now. I don't want to put in my age verification, Nintendo. I just wanted to see when the game's coming out. But the dragon, it has blood on it. It'll scare you to death if you're under 18.
Oh no.
Dark Risen, April 23rd. Same day as Mortal Kombat.
Oof.
Oh, yeah, I actually did remember that.
Dragon's Dogma is more my kind of game, though, so depending... It's only $30.
Oh, is it only 30?
Oh, I think I know what I'm buying. I have like 14... I have like enough gold points for $14, so...
Nice.
This might be it for me. And Brandon, because you gave me access to Cuphead and Hollow Knight, I'm not going to get them on Switch if I already have access to them.
Right.
So I'm probably going to buy this soon. That's cool. Hopefully it doesn't suck. I hope it's not a bad port.
Knowing myself, I'm going to end up buying both of them.
Yeah? On Switch?
Yeah.
Well, Dragon's Dogma's been out for a while, so I assume you definitely might.
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma on Switch, definitely, because it's a game that I've always wanted to play, and every time it came out, I just never took that
portability
plunge.
helps, because I think with RPGs, because they're so time-consuming, having it portable so you can kind of play it in more situations comfortably, it kind of bodes well for it.
I think, knowing myself, I'm gonna buy neither, because even if I want to buy a game, I usually end up not buying it at launch and waiting for like price drops and stuff. So.
Still haven't got Resident Evil Remake. I still haven't gotten Resident Evil 7. Okay, I need to play those.
I still haven't gotten Spider-Man or God of War, so.
Yeah, I want to get Sekiro now. There's just so much to play, man. So much to play. Life's so hard.
I just know for a fact I'm getting Mortal Kombat because I've been playing this series since the third game.
I've never played one, so.
Ooh. I've played a few Mortal Kombat, not as much as you, Shifty, but they're good fighting games. So I'm interested to see how it is. Especially, I just want to see how it's see it on Switch. We don't have any direct feed gameplay of it yet, right? We just have seen. No. We've heard people have hands-on experiences in portable mode. And
we haven't even seen off-screen. We've seen like a few screenshots from people who managed to sneak them out. Yeah. But they're like super angled, and you can't tell.
It's not a clear view for it.
Yeah.
I think the clearest like picture we've seen of the game was those cosplayers who took a picture with the Switch like this.
Yeah.
And then someone took a picture of them and they posted it. That's like the closest thing.
Yeah, we don't got much yet. And the game's coming out so soon too. That's the interesting thing. Like it's weeks away. It's basically 3 weeks away from now, and we don't have direct feed footage of the Switch version.
Yeah, it's weird. The people there, the representatives there, claimed that was like an old build, and that's why they didn't want you to record off-screen footage. But from what people are saying, it looks really good. So
that's the interesting thing. People are saying good things about it, but we're not allowed to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little sketchy to me, but I mean, if people are saying it's good, then I'm gonna stay optimistic. So let's move on. Is there anything else you guys want to say though before we move on, or are we good to go?
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. So just a couple things I'm seeing in the chat here. Let me see. Caleb, he's saying, "Give me Rex and Pyra." I may have mentioned that earlier, but I just want to reiterate. I really want to see Rex and Pyra. However, Josiah Farrell saying, "No thanks for Rex and Pyra. Elma, please." So we'll see what happens with that.
What's wrong with you?
No. Elma's pretty cool too, though. So we'll see what happens.
Ooh, if it means no Rex, I might be open to Elma.
How?
He hates Rex. How dare you?
Get out! Get out!
What if it's the trio of Elma, Mythra, and Pyro? You'd prefer that, wouldn't you, Shifty?
Probably, yeah. I don't mind Pyro and Mythra. It's just Rex.
What if that's what they did though? What if Rex? It's still Rex, so you have to deal with him. But it's like Pokemon Trainer, where you use Rex mostly, but for the specials it comes in, and you can change out which specials you're using. Mythra has some specials, Pyra has others, and because Elma was technically featured in Xenoblade 2 DLC, and because of the whole blade mechanic, maybe she is from a different universe, and Elma is the third blade. So there's no story spoilers with the blades that Rex uses. Because think about it, the other blades that Rex would use as a potential third blade, they'd be kind of spoilery, right? Like either you put like a generic blade or ones that would reveal or suggest what happens in the story.
Sakurai does not care about spoilers.
Yeah, he really doesn't.
I agree with you on that, but I know a lot of people do. So, maybe, and also maybe they want to bring in Elma in some way if they're going to do that. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there. Putting it out there.
I want the spoiler characters, and I want the spoiler Final Smash with their final upgraded form. This would be dope.
Oh man,
I want Rex in there because
I would hate it if because of spoilers they don't put the Final Smash. That would be dumb. Because let's be real, Numa would be amazing.
The Final Smash could probably just be their like level 4 special thing.
Yeah, it could be.
But I want the super upgrade, like dude. Once you get that form in Xenoblade, you feel so powerful.
It's pretty awesome.
You just destroy It's amazing.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, for sure. Let me. So Sabbath brought up Killer Instinct for Switch. Cool. Oh, so that was another thing that broke my heart. Last night, technically before midnight, but I guess from other regions they were already in April Fool's Day. There was a company that posted a tweet saying that they were publishing Rare Replay 64. So they were remaking. It wasn't just the original versions. They were remaking 10 and 64 games from Rare. I was like, but I know this is fake. But oh my god, if only. Like, I want that. Like, the first 5 seconds, I was like, could this be real? Like, could Rare Replay be real? And then I was like, no, it's not. Damn it.
Today of all days, just don't believe anything anyone posts on social media.
I saw so much that I'm like, I've barely looked at Twitter and YouTube because I'm like, there's going to be April Fool's crap everywhere. Right. Like, I've actually stayed off social media because of it.
I'm a very trusting person, so every April Fool's I get for the first there's always a half second where I believe it and I'm like, oh wait, no.
Yeah.
This is not right.
Exactly. So Alexander Barroso is asking a couple things. So one, I know this is off topic, but are you guys excited for Zelda Link's Awakening and or Cadence of Hyrule? Yes and yes.
Yes,
both. Yes and yes.
Both those things.
Yeah,
definitely getting both of those.
I'm really excited for them. It's really cool. I've never played what's the actual name of it? It's like
Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Crypt of the Necrodancer, not Mantis.
Yes. Dancer.
That makes more sense
because it's a rhythm game.
Right. I've never played that series before, right? But I guess this Cadence of Hyrule thing is going to get me into it, and I like that it's rhythm based, so that's going to give it a different spin. It's not just going to be your typical 2D hack and slash, which if you look at the gameplay footage, it might look like that at first glance. But I love it's kind of like a Link to the Past, redone, in HD, which is really cool in terms of art style. So I like that. I like the premise of it being a rhythm-based game. So I'm interested to see that for sure. And then Link's Awakening, oh my, that's going to be such an experience because I never played it back in 93 or 98 when they had the deluxe version. So I'm interested to give that a shot as well. And I'm excited, man. I can't wait to play them for sure. So
I'm totally into it.
Yeah. 2D Zelda game is 2D Zelda is my favorite 2D IP, anything. 2D Mario, it's okay. 2D Zelda, that's where it's at.
I just want to point out that there was talk of there being another Zelda game coming out this year that wasn't Link's Awakening, and now we know Cadence of Hyrule. So, it looks like that rumor is true. I think that was coming from, what's his face? Someone I actually didn't like getting information from, but not King Zell, the King of Smash Leaker before the DLC.
Oh. Yes.
What's his name? Shit, you know what I'm talking about?
The guy who leaked a bunch of what?
Incineroar and Isabelle.
Verg?
Yeah.
Vergaben?
Yeah, him. Yeah, thank you, Caleb, also brought that up. Yeah, so he also, I believe, mentioned that there'd be another Zelda game in Cadence of Hyrule, so that was unexpected. I would not have expected another Zelda game after Link's Awakening, and then we got Cadence of Hyrule, so and that's what makes sense. It couldn't have been a 3D thing Right, it couldn't have been another like a traditional 2D Zelda. What made sense was what we're getting, something unexpected, an indie developer being allowed to make a game with the Zelda IP, which hasn't really happened before. Right. So that's really cool to see. Definitely excited for it. I see Phantasm Wolves is here. How you doing, man? Oh, you're excited for the Smash DLC? And you bought Cuphead. Good. Very nice. But let me see what Alexander's saying here. So other thing nobody talks about the Breath of the Wild, like, would be perfect for the weapon and shield breaking system, right?
Don't know what you're... What?
I didn't quite understand it, but I think you're getting to the weapon and shield breaking system. Like, I think they need to change that a little bit for the next game. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but they'll probably... If you look at the different Zelda games, every Zelda game gets critiqued for something, and they usually kind of do like a 180 on it. You know what I mean? Like Wind Waker, it was chastised for being toon-like. What did they do? They made a realistic Zelda, right? Like, and then for Twilight Princess, actually, I don't think they did a 180 for Twilight Princess Skyward Sword. They didn't, but for Skyward Sword, people were like, "Oh, it's too linear." So what do? They made the most open Zelda game ever. Right, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take the complaints from Breath of the Wild, like, okay, people don't like rain, apparently, and people don't like our weapons breaking, so we're going to adjust that. I think that's fairly likely.
He was talking about likes. The ones that eat shield. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, it'd be perfect because you.
I was so confused because I thought it was a repeated word. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Damn. Okay. Yeah. See, you know what? I completely misunderstood it now. Now I see what you're saying. The shielding monster. I would like to see them. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Brandon, you brought up a lot. There's not that much enemy variety in Breath of the Wild. There's a lot of enemies like the likes. That's 3 likes. You know, like I would love to see them return. There's so many different enemies they could use. So, and I think that's something that we could maybe expect in the next Zelda game, because if they do reuse the physics engine for Breath of the Wild, it's less time focusing on the physics and the underlying mechanics and more on just creating content and different designs and stuff. So, I am hopeful we'll see a lot more variety with the next Zelda game. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to move into the next topic, though. And it's about Smash.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But just before we go... Yes, I would also like to see the Dead Hands return, Sabbath, for sure.
Yeah. Dead Hands are awesome.
Just have them pick you up and throw you off the Guardians.
They're terrifying, man. Oh my god. Oh, that would be a crazy combination. Oh my god. Jeez. So, Best Buy leaked the Joker. Like, it's not really debated much. I'll just put this up here. I'm pretty sure you guys can see it. I'll like magnify it a little bit. I think it's fairly clear. I hope it's clear on the stream.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah, so This is a screenshot of Best Buy, and it looks like they slipped up a little bit, and there it is. That's his model, and people have said they haven't been able to find that actual unique kind. If you look at the art style of it, it's like pseudo-realistic, you know, kind of like what Smash is with that lighting engine and stuff. It matches the art style for the other characters. I'm in belief that's legit. What do you guys think?
Oh, it's definitely legit. I went to the Best Buy website myself and saw it.
Okay. Yeah. Brandon, you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely legit.
I mean, we're so close now. In fact, some of you guys brought up in the chat. I saw it. I didn't get to it. But not too long ago, it happened at some point during March that the Smash website went from approaching or something along the line April. Now it just says approaching ellipsis, which is April ... on the Smash website for Joker, I think. So like that's teasing that something is coming soon. And we talked about it earlier, right? We talked about how there would be there's a high likelihood of there being a Nintendo Direct of some kind in April, right? Historically speaking, they usually have a Direct around this time if there's one in February. They've been teasing us with Smash. Joker's supposed to come out in April at some point. That's confirmed information. And we know there's a 3.0 updates coming out at some time this month as well. Reddy's retiring. And there's teased with the whole Animal Crossing thing and the tax deadline. Like, there's different little things that obviously could maybe point to some sort of Direct. in April. Now, not all of them could be pointing towards it. They could just be coincidences, but I think some of it makes sense, and especially with Smash, it definitely makes sense because we know we're getting an update. It may not be a direct though. It could just be, you know, released like Piranha Plant. Like I thought we would get like some sort of announcement for it in a direct, and then it would come out. No, it just happened, right? So it's possible that we just get it dropped on us. That's possible. But there's also the talk of a Persona game coming out for Switch. We don't know what it is, but Persona 5R, you know, the Persona 5, the Royal, like that was announced for PS4. So that could be tying into this as well. You know, I think it's only a matter of time. We're but weeks away from playing with this character, I feel.
Mm-hmm. I think that they will show him in Direct, because Piranha Plant, I feel like they didn't show him again because they wanted some of his moves to be a surprise, but they had already shown gameplay and several of his moves off.
Right, we haven't seen gameplay
beforehand.
Yeah,
we've seen like a in-game render, like not even the full thing, but like very like kind of panned around his render, but you couldn't see it very clearly. Like that's all we've seen of him, and that's obviously not gameplay. So I think we will see it. Obviously, I don't think they're gonna do a whole like this is exactly how he works, because they want to watch you to figure that out yourself. But they'll show a few basic moves and kind of like what they did for Piranha Plant.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
And they're going to reveal the stage, too. They're not just going to be like, you know...
And also, there's a 3.0 update, right? It's not just Joker into stage.
Right.
It's there's going to be other modes, probably. The data mine suggests... I think there was two things. A home run contest and a stage builder, stage editor. That's what a data mine suggested. So that could be what's coming along with Joker and his, you know, his content. I'd like to see that. Yeah. Do you guys think we're getting anything else, or are we on the same wavelength here?
You're probably going to see a ton of changes for characters that are already in the game too.
Yeah, like
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe a tease for the next one, the next character.
Maybe. If it's like a Smash Direct, right? If we have a Smash Direct, at that point I'm like, okay, so there's going to be two different modes. They're going to showcase how they work, right? There's going to be Joker, and with Persona 5R, there was another female character, so there may be like an echo of her, or at least a costume alt for Joker that comes with it as well. So there could be all that. They might be like, oh, by the way, even though it's not Smash related, Persona 5 is coming to Switch, like, and then they could talk about, you know, the stages and the music. Like, they could have like a 10-minute Smash Direct easily, I think.
I think it won't be. I think it will be a big chunk of a normal Direct.
I agree. That's what I'm going with, but I'm just saying I think it's possible. Yeah, actually, ideally, this is not. I want to make it a prediction, but it kind of goes in with what I was saying here. Like my ideal situation with what could happen, right? So it's a Nintendo Direct, right? And it says we're focusing on Smash for this Direct. That's what they say. But we get it, right? And I think they could start. Should they start? Let's say they started off, because they know that's what everyone's waiting for. They reveal Joker gameplay to start things off. They do that. They talk about Joker. They talk about his stage, his music. They reveal that there's another Echo character of the girl, or just an alt, right? They show all that. Then they tell us about the two different modes. Then they announce Persona 5R, and they didn't go into other games. Then Reggie comes on stage, announces a shadow release, Mother 3, localized, Nintendo Switch eShop. Then he says, oh, by the way, in May, Metro Prime Trilogy HD, and
this keeps rolling, essentially into a bigger ball of announcements.
Yeah. And then to end the Direct, they have a tease for the next DLC character. And that's how it ends. Full circle. That's what I would love to see. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I want to see in April. April 15th, by the way. Oh, maybe they even throw some Animal Crossing gameplay as well, or just another tease. I think that's possible.
Right.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean...
not likely, but possible.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot. I mean, we've seen a ton of different rumors for, like, different characters being teased for Smash, so it's like... It wouldn't surprise me if they decided to tease one of them in any capacity, but I do think it also wouldn't surprise me that if they just completely focus on, oh, hey, big deal, Joker in 3.0, and they just left it at that.
For sure. Yeah, because there's so much that they could just be more concise with it. Definitely. That may even be the more likely situation. I'm just being a fanboy here.
Yeah.
But let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat though. So Joe's saying, have you guys seen then the World of Light files? There were 16 unknown fighters found, and 2 are of course Piranha Plant Joker. So we're probably getting 2 more challenger packs. I've seen that. I don't think that necessarily confirms that there will be that many more characters. I do think it's possible though. I think every year there could be a challenger's pass for at least 1 more, and it could be 2 more. I think that's possible. You know, it's just, if it's just 5 characters a year, that's honestly not that big of a deal in terms of development and resources. And it does look like they want to support Smash for a while. So it's not crazy to think that we could get 10 more characters after this initial Challengers Pass. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising because Capcom has how many seasons now for Street Fighter? Like, on the second one? Like, fighting games has kind of become a norm for there to be multiple seasons.
Right. And if they're treating it like Splatoon had, what, at least 2 seasons as well of updates, right? And that was extensive because they would add stuff like every week. So, you know,
Splatoon, I think because originally it was just supposed to be till the end of the year, and then it was postponed again. It was made longer, the update cycle, and then they made it even longer, and they're still going. Which is insane. They were supposed to end it like a year ago, and they're still going with updates for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Smash be like, "Oh, we only promised this, but actually, there's a bunch more stuff coming."
Yeah. Right. This is off tangent, but did you guys see that April Fool's trailer of Splatoon Island?
I did not.
Oh,
I saw that it was a thing, but I didn't actually watch it.
It was very detailed. It looked like a legit game. It looks like a legit game. It looks like a mobile game because they do like the whole rectangular phone thing, but it looks like a legit Splatoon mobile game. That's basically like combining like Sims or Animal Crossing with like Splatoon. There's like romance and still like there's actually like the ending scene is like with a squid girl and squid boy like with like giving a ring, you know, marriage proposal. So
aren't they like 12?
No, but the beginning is like, oh, normal Splatoon's for kids, but Splatoon Island is for adults, and it goes into like the whole life exploring a city. But they still have all the other aspects of Splatoon, like there's even mini games where you shoot and stuff like that with ink, and then they have exploration and concerts and the whole. It was really interesting. You guys should check it out. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it. It's an interesting watch.
You know, actually, speaking of April Fools and Twitter, I did put out a tweet kind of like leaving it vague as to whether or not it's an April Fool's joke or not, but I don't know if you saw that, but, you know, you should look at that later when you get the chance.
Okay, yeah, and by the way, guys, the links to both their channels in the description below, and if you can't find Shifty's Twitter, I'm pretty sure it's on his About page, right?
I think so. I might have to update it. It's definitely on all my video descriptions, so.
Okay. Yeah, so check them out, guys, and so you can see what we're talking about on Twitter. But, yeah, no, it's really interesting. Twitter has a lot of... Don't believe anything that's on Twitter today, but it's interesting to watch, right?
Yeah, I put my tweet out of my April Fool's tweet, and I got, like, reactions pretty quickly on that. So, I mean, I don't know if I should just say it now, or you just want to check it out later, but...
You can say it. Maybe people will go check it out, but...
I mean, all it is just I wrote a tweet saying, "Oh, by the way, Ryu Hayabusa will be Smash DLC."
Oh,
but I'm leaving that vague as to whether or not it's a joke.
Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's April Fool's. I can't believe. Oh my god.
Can't believe. Won't believe.
Oh my god. Ryu. Oh my god. Dude, that would. Oh my. Oh. Okay. All right. I'm joking.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Joker's. We're gonna see it soon, like really soon. Like it's this month at some point. So do you guys agree that it's April 15th is a sweet spot, or do you think it's be earlier or later?
I mean, it could be for Joker. You mean specifically?
Yeah.
Because I think for Joker, it it could be like it's available after the direct, or it could be a situation of just like they released it the day prior and then they do the direct after, and then they remind people that, oh yeah, Joker's a thing, buy the Fighter's Pass.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I think it would be day and date with the direct.
Okay.
They're like, oh, it's available after the show.
Okay, yeah. Caleb's saying next Monday he's calling it for the Joker's release.
Interesting time.
Yeah.
I feel like Monday is not a great day. It's like, yay, I have to go back to work and school. Good thing this thing just dropped.
Yeah, I'm definitely rolling with the idea that they're gonna do something with Reggie one more time. And I
really hope so.
I think there could be a Nintendo Direct on the 15th. I think that we'll see. So let's move it a little bit. We're still talking about Smash, but it's just kind of moving along to a little bit more talk about Banjo. So there's no confirmation of Banjo, guys. Has not happened at all. There was a few people covered this. Billy Bill 10K covered this. There was this whole speculation thread on Twitter about Banjo and Playtonic Games helping out with a remake for Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. They were working with Rare Games. That was the whole rumor and speculation. There were DMs and things like that. Apparently, Playtonic Games came out and deconfirmed that, though. So I'm not going to really get into that. And also, personally, just saying, I don't see Playtonic Games helping out with Banjo remake. I don't see that happening.
No.
Yeah, no.
But supposedly, it was also going to tie into a Banjo DLC sort of announcement. Along with it to sort of hype people up for the remakes. I don't buy it, because as we mentioned, Playtonic Games basically confirmed it already.
Yeah.
But I do. There have also been some leakers talking about how Steve is less likely now and Banjo is more likely now. There's been a lot. There's so many different leakers out there. The talk has sort of kind of swayed more towards Banjo lately. I think Banjo makes sense. If I was in charge of the choices, I'd be like, Banjo-Kazooie is the one that should be in Smash if there's gonna be a Microsoft rep. If there's just gonna be one, that's the one I go for, right? But Steve is also really popular. He's a really popular character from a really popular franchise, so that makes sense for its own reasons as well. But we've talked about this before. I mean, have you guys heard of this rumor, by the way? Or am I kind of just telling you guys about it now?
Not heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people mention Banjo, it was a very popular choice, but I haven't heard, any particular leakers. To be fair, even though I've leaked stuff myself, I don't really pay much attention to other leakers.
Okay.
Which is ironic, but yeah.
I kind of understand what you're saying, though. Makes sense. Just kind of you already have your own sources of that information, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's I'll use it to stay up to date with what the community thinks for the most part, but then I don't really look too much into it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this thread looked at different things as maybe sources or hints. For example, they brought up at one point, Spawnwave made a tweet saying, "If we thought Cuphead was a big collab, just wait because this year will blow our minds." I mean, I think when I heard that, I thought it was in reference to a Master Chief Collection, right? Some sort of Halo port.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right? That's what I was thinking it would be. And they even referenced some things in terms of things coming from King Zell, but I have to go back and look. But from what I saw of King Zell, I thought it was more pointing towards the Master Chief Collection, not necessarily a Banjo remake. But again, I have to go back and check. There could be something there. I just think it's highly unlikely that that's going to be the case. I think it makes more sense for there to be Rare Replay, though. That would be nice to see. And maybe they could still tie in Banjo. I think he's a very popular character. He's very significant in terms of Nintendo history. He's been a long-timer fan-requested character. I need to find a direct source, but I remember seeing from reliable pieces of information that Banjo was a part of a data mine. Not Banjo, but Rare content was part of a data mine early on with Smash. And if that's all the case, I do think Banjo has a great shot. But again, there's been a lot of rumors coming out about Steve, and if I have to look into your tweet, I'm shifty, but if Ryu Hayabusa is true from Ninja Gaiden, that would line up with the rumor we heard a while ago that also included Doom Guy and Minecraft Steve, along with Erdrick and Joker. So that, you know, possibility. I don't know. It's still 50-50 for me. What do you guys think?
Just as far as Banjo getting to Smash, or this Banjo remake?
Well, I think the Banjo remake's like fully fake.
Yeah, no. Especially the one that talk about like Playtonic working on it. There's no way Playtonic is going to work with Rare at this point.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen.
No, I don't see that. I don't see that.
If they do a remake, it's completely like by Rare.
They don't need Playtonic's help. It's a remake.
No.
The game's already made. You're just kind of, you know, polishing it up and making it pretty.
Yeah.
And I feel like Playtonic left Rare with not an amicable.
Yeah, they don't want to work together. Right. That exactly. Yeah. They left for a reason. So you know, I mean, it's not. That doesn't mean that, you know, because time mends wounds, right? And that doesn't mean that they can't work together at some point. But I don't think that just no. The moment I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is fake. I don't know why a lot of people believe this for that reason.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I do think there's a good chance that there could be some sort of Banjo info this year.
Yeah,
Banjo
I mean,
announcement, something.
The remake would definitely be done by Rare on their own. I mean, 343 Industries of Halo, they didn't need Bungie's help to remake Halo 2, for instance.
Right.
Right.
Or with Metroid Samus Returns, they didn't need the original Metroid Game Boy team. You know, that was not. No, you don't need that. The game's already made. The design of the game's made. All you do is you look at some minor things to polish up the gameplay, modernize it, and you change around the graphics. Right, and that's not to say it's a small thing. Like, to completely remake a game, that's a lot. But in terms of the game's design, it's already in place.
Right.
So yeah, I don't buy it at all. Why would you want an indie dev for that? No. But you know, aside from that, like, how do you guys feel just as, because the talk's still going? You know, Banjo versus Steve. Like, where do we stand on that? I've come to the side of I would love it if Steve and Banjo were announced, right? Because there could be 2 Microsoft reps. If Erdrick is legit, that'd be 2 Capcom reps. With Sora, that's not Sora. I keep saying Sora, not Sora. Sorry, guys. But what's a Joker? Like, that would be, you know, like Sega publishes the Persona series, right? So that would be a Sega rep, and that would make it so there's basically every third party who has a character would have 2 reps. I've kind of subscribed to that thinking. Who?
Sega would have 3 at that point.
Who is it? Who's a
Bayonetta, Sonic, and
yeah.
I don't see. Here's the thing. So for me, Nintendo is also publishing Bayonetta. So from my perspective, I see Bayonetta as not as a third party guest. I see Bayonetta as a Nintendo character. That's my perspective on it, and they are publishing it. So, but Sega also has a hand in that too. So it's kind of like a co-publishing thing. So I guess also it would depend how you look at that. But that's my perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Banjo versus Steve thing, it's, my brain wants to say, you know, Steve makes more sense. But my heart and my like fanboyism says that I would prefer Banjo.
Yeah.
So I'm torn on it, really. What I actually think will happen, I don't know. I don't have much to say on that one, on that end, I guess.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
I'm
think it's
kind of wondering.
Close. It's 50-50 for me.
Right. What I'm wondering is maybe this first Challenger Pack is more based on popular characters in order to get the most amount of people into the game. And then there will be a second Challenger Pack with the Banjos and the Rex and Pyras that are the, you know, characters that Nintendo fans really want. So I'm kind of leaning towards maybe we'll get Minecraft Steve this time and then Banjo in a second one.
I get that. I get that, and you know, it's nice because if you think of it in that way, we could still eventually get all the characters we want, right? The Genos, the Rex and Pyras, the Banjos. But I also, a part of me doesn't like the premise that, okay, we're just gonna use this challenger pack to just add characters to bring in the largest audience. Obviously, business-wise, that's what makes sense. They're in this to make money. They are a company. I get it. But I don't like it. Do you understand where I'm coming from, guys? Like, it's just kind of like...
I mean, it depends of what characters they pick. Because I think they're going to pick characters that are really good for Smash. I don't think they're going to pick characters that are just, like, dumb or don't really fit in the game. Like, Sakurai's going to make them really fit in the game, and they're going to be great characters. But I think they're going to be leaning towards characters that are, you know, out of the typical Nintendo wheelhouse to pull people in.
Right. And I would say Banjo is not a normal Nintendo option because it's owned by Microsoft, right? Like
I guess, but it's not going to bring any Microsoft fans in. There's nobody's a Microsoft fan because of Banjo.
No. What it will do, though, is be a huge talking point. It'll be the talk of the town, right? It'll be like the...
I mean, so would Minecraft, Steve, and that would bring a lot of Microsoft
I don't think so. No, it'll be a big deal. Every Smash character from a third-party game, especially when it'll be a big deal. But I think, do you understand what I'm saying, though, when I say that if Banjo is announced, right, it'll kind of be like that Metroid Prime reveal moment at E3 2017, right? Like, even though Metroid's not like the biggest series, there is this intense passion for the franchise, and it's kind of like what the internet community wants, you know, like the gamer community on the internet, and like that will really ignite the talk, and that will be a trending topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Minecraft, Steve, would, just because how big it is, but I do think that there would be more positive feedback for Banjo, because I think a lot of the Minecraft feedback would be mixed in with a lot of negative feedback. So I think it'd be more of a mixed reaction, though I do think it would be as big. I think it would be more of a mixed reaction than Banjo.
So I think in terms of people like that they could bring in to pique their interest, I see what you're saying. I also think Sora, from that perspective, makes more sense than Erdrick, by the way. Like, if you want to get people to buy Smash, right, and play, I think having Sora from Kingdom Hearts would be a much bigger deal than having Erdrick from Dragon Quest, right?
Depends.
Not even Dragon Quest, not even every Dragon, like...
I think in the East, Erdrick would be a much bigger deal.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's applying more to the Japanese market.
Right. And you're right. I'm only thinking about the Western side of things. That's true.
Yeah. But if Steve got in, it would... I think it would definitely be like a significantly bigger splash online than it would be if it was Banjo. Because I feel that the people who like Banjo, while they would be ecstatic about Banjo getting in, it wouldn't be anywhere near the size of people who would be complaining about Steve. Like, the complaints, is probably not what Nintendo would want, but there's going to be a lot of eyes who are going to notice all of that and look into it and probably attract people who do like it.
Right, I mean, I agree it's a good business decision, but I'm just saying, you know, that Metroid Prime 4 moment, like that intense passion moment, those screaming reactions, you're going to get that with Banjo. I don't think you're going to get too much of that with Steve.
True,
it's a different kind of popularity is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I just don't think that translates into sales as much.
Okay. And that's fair. That may be the case.
I think it would be better because obviously I think that would make a more positive press, but I think Nintendo is not really craving pure positive press right now. Like, they can get away with a bit of negative press about and mixed reactions with Banjo or for Minecraft Steve and get the sales. It's not like the WiiWare where they need everything that they ever do to be positive because everyone's looking at them in negative light. Everyone's looking at them in this overly positive light already, so they're not. So I feel like Banjo would make a splash initially, and then it would die down pretty quick and wouldn't translate into sales as much.
I get what you're saying. That could be the case. But to continue to defend the Banjo side of things, right, if there is a plan to bring Rare Replay, having Banjo in Smash would play to the sales of that, right?
It would, yes.
And I don't think Steve is needed to boost Minecraft sales. Like, Minecraft is already a popular thing. if they wanted Rare Replay and the Banjo IP to become more popular, more relevant, Banjo in Smash would make more sense. So from that perspective, it might make sense more from a business perspective. In that way, it could work out for Banjo. But again, I agree with you. Minecraft Steve, much more popular franchise. It could bring in a lot. It just has a much larger audience, so it naturally it could excite a lot of Minecraft fans and maybe try out Smash. I agree with that. I'm not disputing that, but you know, I have to fight for Banjo because
I mean, that whole thing is true, but you could make the same argument for Minecraft Steve because I'm pretty sure most people are not aware of this, but Minecraft is coming out with a new game this year.
It is?
Yeah, there's a thing called Minecraft Dungeons. Google it.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google this right now.
Minecraft Dungeons. It's a PC. Right now, it's just a PC game for this year, but it is a game coming out this year.
What?
It's coming for Switch.
This is in fact a game that exists.
Is it coming to Switch?
Wow.
As of right now, we don't know that, but I mean, they could easily announce it. I mean, sort of like Persona 5, the Royal, or you know, that whole thing.
Definitely possible.
There's not much info on them.
Yeah, they're like barely any info. They just announced it for this year, and then that was like the gist of it.
I see.
Interesting. Yep. Well, can't say I'm interested in it, but I get it. You know, you're not wrong. So, you know.
They could easily announce it for Switch and say, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, Minecraft Steve for Smash.
We will see what happens. I think you're right in saying that from a business perspective, at least on the surface level, Minecraft Steve seems to make more sense. But I think in terms of the fandom, right, I think in terms of the reactions and the trending, I still feel that Banjo would hit harder. Will that translate to more money for Nintendo and Microsoft? I don't know. Right, that's up to them to decide. Maybe they already know that. Maybe that's why they'll pick whoever they pick. And we'll find out. Right? We're going to find out eventually. Right? There's also the possibility there will be no the Microsoft character. Right? We all like to assume there will be one. Right? But there may be none. But I think there's at least one. I'm hopeful that it's both because that makes everyone happy. But, you know, we'll find out eventually, I guess. Let me see what's going on in the chat here, because I know there's a bit of debate on this. Let me see. There's a few different things being said here. Reginald Ridgens is saying, what about Crash and Sora? Definitely popular characters. The reason why I don't talk too much about Sora is mainly because I don't think they're going to get 2 square reps, because we already have Cloud, and which, you know, then Sora would be a third one, because I'm assuming the rumors about Airdrop are true. They're pretty strong at this point. There's not much debate about it. It's possible that it's not the case and it is someone else, maybe like Sora, but I'm kind of set in stone with my thinking that Airdrick from Dragon Quest is the next Dragon Quest character. I mean, the next DLC character. That's why I haven't mentioned Sora too much. You guys with me there?
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna leave myself out of this part of it.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I got reasons, but
okay. And then Crash. Well, hey, you know, Crash would be an interesting option. Personally, I've never been a big Crash fan, right? That's because I was more of an N64 kid rather than a PS1 kid. But you know, Crash is a popular character. There's a Crash game on a Switch, so it's definitely an option.
Crash Team Racing is coming, so
I mean, if anything, I'm like with Erdrick and Crash, I'm totally on board for either one of them. They're both from series that I've barely played, but I've played just a bit, so it just give me the motivation to like finish some of their games.
Yeah, and that's true. Like I want to buy Persona 5, but I'm kind of waiting on that announcement for the Switch, and then this Persona 5 the Royal. And I've been trying. I would have bought Persona 5 ready for PS4, but I saw it was $60 still. So, you know, if Persona 5 the Royal is coming, I imagine that will also probably be $60. So there isn't much reason for me to get Persona 5 right now, you know, unless there's like a massive discount right now before the next one comes out. And if there's going to be a Switch version, which may virtually be the same game, I may be more interested in that, especially because it's a long game. And, you know, it's an RPG, right? So, like, I probably would be more interested in playing it on Switch because of the portability. It gives me more time to play it in different ways. So, you know, I'm waiting on it, but I definitely am interested in it. It's because of the Joker announcement. So, we'll see. And let me see what's going on here. Sal was saying, I was against Crash being made in Smash before, but now I think he would be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, Crash would be pretty cool to see. I just never really give it much thought, but...
He'd be okay. I don't really like his games. I've played them, not like all the way through, but I've played several of them a bit, and I never really liked them. So.
Right. But
I've only ever had an issue when they made me run towards the camera.
That's like every level, though.
Yeah.
It's literally the whole game. Just running towards the freaking camera. I hate that. It's so annoying.
Another interesting point, though. I don't know if I just thought of it myself or I saw it from someone else. I was reading some of your comments and it came to my head. Phantasm Wolf said Crash would be cool because he wrote that yeah, it was from Phantasm Wolf. He said Crash could be cool because he can promote for Crash Team Racing Remastered coming June. That's an interesting point. And I guess the point I want to make based off of your point is that we know about one character so far, and that's Joker. And there is no Persona game announced for Switch, right? But the thinking is Persona will be announced for Switch, right? And if Erdrick is true, right, that'd be for Dragon Quest, and we're getting Dragon Quest 11S, that makes sense. So if we get Crash Team Racing, that makes sense. If we get Minecraft Steve or Banjo, that ties into a rare replay or Minecraft Dungeons, that makes sense, right? If Doom Guy is an option, well, guess what? Doom Eternal is coming out for Switch this year. So these are all characters that are kind of in the conversation for Smash, and they all have games coming out this year. So that kind of all makes sense. So, you know, maybe Crash is in the cards for that reason, because there is its own game coming out on the Switch. Maybe. I think that's something to consider. Phantasm Wolves, if for some crazy reason they drop a double reel, one from Microsoft and someone not from Microsoft, yeah, maybe like Crash and Banjo. That'd be interesting. Two furry animals. Maybe. So I was saying, imagine if Billy Hatcher came to Smash. That would be like, whoa, Billy Hatcher.
I don't know who that is.
A PS2 game, right?
It's an old game. It's like, yeah, it's like he dresses in a chicken suit.
What the fuck?
It wasn't just on PS2, it was on GameCube as well.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's not a character that I really hold dear to myself or anything like that.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, there's so many different characters that would make people happy, right?
Yeah.
But there's only so many that can make it in. It's kind of the same argument for, what was his name? The character from the Danganronpa. Like, again, you know, it'd be cool, but there's just so many different things. I don't think Billy Hatcher is high up on the priority list.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think anybody sort of.
Yeah. Silent Joe said Sans.
Oh.
No.
I love
Undertale, but no.
It's kind of yeah. It's the same argument. Simon English said Steve. Well, Steve is the one that keeps coming up, so we'll see. Phantasmal said, if I had to go that route, it'd be Master Chief because you wouldn't think of him as a Nintendo associate, yet he presents a flagship of Microsoft. That's the other thing, right? Like, the debate's been, like, Banjo and Steve, but, you know, kind of out of left field, like, this kind of, like, the underdog here, right? The Cinderella story for maybe a Microsoft DLC character is kind of Master Chief now because the rumors... Yeah, you said it. You did. That maybe...
I mean, we had that podcast where we literally went over an entire moveset for Master Chief for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a reason.
I'm of the frame of mind that, well, one, I'm pretty sure it was deconfirmed by a Microsoft rep, but also we've heard that Bethesda's been in talks with Nintendo, and if they get a DLC character, and I would imagine it'd be Doom Guy, so if they already have Doom Guy,
Similar characters.
it's very similar, and when you have the potential for Steve or Banjo, you know, I just feel like it'd make more sense for them to have either Banjo or Steve, and then Bethesda gets Doom Guy. Assuming Doom Guy is a thing, right? If Doom Guy's not a thing,
like
then...
Doom Guy's a chance. He's had several games on Nintendo before.
Yeah.
So.
And Doom Eternal is coming out this year.
Yeah.
I will say, out of all the characters in question, he's the one I'm most interested in actually seeing.
Doom Guy?
Yeah, because I'm just so because I've played every Doom game. I know what he's capable of and his arsenal of weapons.
Yeah.
So it's like as a fan, I'm interested, but at the same time, I also want to know how exactly would his moveset be like.
Right.
Because I also play competitively, so I want to know, can I play the guy I like this time? Because I don't really play the Belmonts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're tricky, man. That mid-range game it's tricky for me. I'm probably not as good as I know I'm not as. I see you talking, but you've gotten everyone in Elite Smash. Like I can't even get one. So maybe if I kept playing, I'd do it. Although, not Smash related, but yesterday I finally got a Tetris 99 win.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've still never accomplished that, so
I have not either.
Really happy.
I don't
about
play it
that.
very often, so.
It's taken many efforts.
I'll say this much though. Every Friday I do a stream where I play with people in chat for Smash, so you guys should come through.
Yep. The link to his channel is in the description, guys. Make sure to check it out.
My ass whooped. I'm so bad at Smash.
Well, some people who come by are learning, so.
Yeah. Learn something. Just McGee, how you doing? He's saying, Just McGee's saying, I remember Billy Hatcher. That game was awesome. It's like Sega's version of Mario Sunshine. It was an interesting platformer at the time. Platformers are just, there's not that many. Screw you, Brandon.
Did you say that's terrible?
It's destroyed both Mario Sunshine and this game in one fell swoop. It's wrecked them.
Yeah. So
I'm with you there.
That Joe's saying that they sort of tease signs in one of the Toon Link's move descriptions, and they reference Smash and Deltarune. I heard of the Deltarune reference, so
I've not heard either of those.
we could look into it later.
I don't think Sans is gonna get in.
I don't think
any indie games.
If Shovel Knight didn't get it, I don't see any other indie character. I don't see it happening.
Like Shovel Knight had the best chance.
I mean, even if they wanted to put in an Undertale character, why would they choose Sans over Frisk?
True, I guess. I feel like Sans would be cooler. I don't know. Sans is definitely a better fighter, I feel like. Even though technically, spoilers, but
I just feel like they would pick the main character.
Right.
I guess they could, but I feel like it's weird. I feel like it would feel like a very Animal Crossing villager situation because a lot of people feel like the peaceful route is like canon. So I don't know.
I can't say much on this because I haven't played Undertale. So
I just feel like if they're gonna represent a whole new series for the first time in Smash, they're not gonna go with a side character.
Honestly, though, Sans is way more iconic than Frisk. Like, Sans and Papyrus are way bigger poster boys for it. I mean, when they announced Undertale for the Switch, you didn't see Frisk at all. You saw Sans and Papyrus. Like, nobody cares about the main character.
I just feel like if Sans or Papyrus gets in, it's going to be like assist trophies or part of a final smash or something like that.
I just feel like it'd make more sense for
I just think
Sans
that if there's any
the
hope
first
of anything from this franchise that I haven't played, it's an assist trophy at best, period, right? Shovel Knight, the most popular indie character, at least in the West, was an assist trophy.
Look at it this way, too. The most popular Castlevania character is Alucard, and he's an assist trophy.
Interesting point.
Alucard is awesome.
I haven't played every Castlevania game, but is there a Castlevania game where Alucard is playable from the beginning? Because I know he's available in the post game for some of them.
He's the main character of Symphony of the Night.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, just checking. So I mean, yeah, maybe you're onto something there. Maybe. Sabbath is asking Andres, do you still think Gino will get in the game? Not for this Challenges Pass. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I thought maybe. You see I feel like we know the direction of the Challengers Pass, even though technically we've only seen one character announced, right? I just don't see the direction going in that way, and I want there to be more characters that are appealing to the Nintendo fan, right? Which is why I'm fighting for Banjo. Not that my opinion makes a difference. Just kind of what I hope for. And I think it makes sense, but if you look at the direction, based off one character, though, so, it's possible that it's not what we think, and it's different, but It seems like they're going for the third-party characters that are kind of not from your typical Nintendo fan. They're trying to expand the audience here,
Right.
which is why Steve makes there's such a good argument for Steve over Banjo. I'm not blind to that, right? So you know, I think Gino, even though he's technically owned by Square, there's probably some issues with the rights, even though they do have his spirit in the game, so there is that. Maybe the next challenge is passed, but my hope has dwindled significantly.
You know, something interesting that I think we've mentioned this before, but Phantasm Wolf says, in my view, for Smash moveset, it'd be generic sword, bow, and arrow, magic, etc. I just see Steve as a sword fighter costume because it would play like him, kind of. So it'd be interesting if they announced Banjo as a playable character and
I would love
Steve
that.
as a just a costume.
I think that makes so much more sense.
I do too.
Make everyone happy, right? Because you get what you would. That it is what it is. Like he would have a basic moveset most likely, right? At least it would. They could make an interesting moveset, but I'm just saying like that would satisfy many Minecraft fans. I feel. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, and I mean the new the costumes in Ultimate look really good. They like a lot of times they look almost exactly like the actual character. So I feel like, especially for like Skulk and stuff. So I feel like a Steve, since he's just such a basic shape, they could just literally make him look exactly like Minecraft Steve with the costume, and then just use maybe even have you know, it look like his Minecraft bow and different things like that, but he's just a costume for sword fighter.
Yeah, I mean, other people agree with this. Private information. He's saying Steve as a Mii fighter would be nice.
I think that's perfectly possible for him to be a Mii swordsman, but I also feel that I don't necessarily agree that Minecraft Steve will be a very basic swordsman type moveset. I feel like because he comes from a game that's all about creating things, I feel he might have a moveset that involves him creating like a wall really quick or something like that, and to block hits that maybe, I don't know. He can.
There's that, and then there's the whole pickaxing thing, and
yeah, like imagine a playstyle where he can create these little barriers between you and him, and then he could break them at will.
Yeah,
that could be a zoner in the sense that it's a little bit like it will be a very different kind of zoning character. But again, we don't know what the moveset would be like, but hypothetically, they could make something very unique with him.
It could. On the same train of thought, though, well, different actually, but like Banjo has so many moves. Like you play Banjo-Kazooie, he just gets new power basically every level almost. Like there's a large move pool for Banjo.
Right.
So you know, I think they could.
I think both have
potential.
A very good moveset potential.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, and also, you know, as much as I'm definitely Banjo biased, right? I think you can't decide the likelihood of a character based off moveset too much, because creativity is a thing, you know? And where there's a will, there's a way. And as you pointed out, Shifty, there's ways to make the moveset for Steve good and interesting. So I can't just say, oh, his moveset is super simple and then there's no reason why he should be a character. I do still think, though, that Steve could be served well with just a Mii costume. I think they could that would be satisfying for people, but I also agree that they could make a really unique moveset as well.
Yeah. They could go the extra mile and make him some kind of crazy, wacky moveset, or they could just make him feel like he does in his own game, minus obviously the building.
Right, yeah, because there's not a lot of characters that I know of that creates in their main game, other than I guess Mario Maker maybe, but Mario Maker got a stage, so I don't know. Minecraft stage could be kind of like that.
In a way, Minecraft stage, honestly, with a
Joe has brought up a very interesting point. There's another building character we could maybe see.
No.
The only building character we need is Fortnite guy, he says.
No.
Yeah. He's joking.
I refuse.
That'd be funny as hell, though, man. That would be a mad troll.
Default
if people think Steve would upset people, Fortnite guy, That would
The
upset
internet would literally
a
explode with
lot of
rage.
people. But hey, Fortnite's really popular. You know, I mean, it just reaches so many people.
No.
You know, it's a similar argument to Steve when you think about it in that way.
No argument. No.
And there's so many costumes they could put too.
No.
Oh man, just imagine the trailer started with him flossing.
Oh my
Jeez,
God.
I would literally kill myself.
Man.
Ugh. Be
Oh,
the end of-
Mastermind, how you doing, bro? Phantasmal was brought up. He said, yeah, in reference to we were talking about the movesets, he said, yeah, true. We didn't think through when Pac-Man and Villager joined, right? Like, at first, when you think about Pac-Man and Villager, before they were think back to before we knew they were Smash characters, we saw how they played. Like, their initial characters from their respective games don't do that much, right? And yet they still came up with entire movesets. And they're unique, very unique characters. So, you know, with that philosophy in mind, they can do a lot with pretty much anyone.
They could make a character out of a Tetris block. People have come up with movesets from Tetris blocks, so...
They can make a fighter out of a yoga instructor.
They did that.
Yeah.
They did that. Actually, I haven't looked at any Tetramino moveset videos or anything like that, but just thinking about it, T-spin, mini T-spin, a half T-spin, you know, fast drop, line, like square, like full-on Tetris, back-to-back Tetris, like, there are moves. They could do some weird stuff with it, man. Like, I don't know. It'd be weird, but it'd be interesting to see. Private information saying, did you know Tetris blocks have names? They have individual names? Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they do, but I forget what they are.
I should look into that. That'd be interesting to see. Actually, I wonder if Google search will give us that answer. Names for Tetris blocks. A tetramino is a polymino made of 4 square blocks. There are 7 one-sided tetraminos, and they're IOT, Z, J, and L. Wait. Okay.
I don't... What?
IOTS, Z, J, and L. I don't...
There's actual, like, names, though.
Right. I'm looking.
Other than just, you know, what they look like.
The basic tetramino. I just see letters. Okay, so looking at this TetrisFandom.com wiki. So I, which is a long one. Other names include straight, stick, strike, line, VAV, final none, 1, the cyan piece, the long skinny one, the slim Jim, Tetril, TGM red. Yeah. I don't see.
Look up the Tetris manual. Like the original manual had their full names in it.
Okay. Tetris manual. Oh wait, I saw something come up. Tetris manual, block names. Okay, there's this little post here. Oh, I see it. Orange Ricky, Blue Ricky, Cleveland Z, Rhode Island Z, Hero, Tiwi, and Smash Boy. What? I'll put this on the stream so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Look at that, guys. Orange Ricky, Blue Ricky, Cleveland Z, Rhode Island Z, Hero, Tiwi, Smash Boy. Wow. Yep. Wow. Okay, now we know. Now I like the Hero one because, like, whenever you're kind of screwed and, like, you really need to drop a lot of blocks, like, get a lot of lines, you see that the Hero come out, like, oh, my Hero, and then you drop and you get a Tetris and you lose 4 lines.
Hero is, like,
in the game.
one of the best blocks to get.
That's cool.
So easy to put anywhere.
I did not know that. That's cool to see, for sure. So I think we're pretty much at the end of the podcast. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up before we call it a night? And guys in the chat, if there's anything you guys want us to talk about, just put it in the chat. We'll get to it. I think we've pretty much reached a conclusion. We're done with the topics at least. I have hope for Banjo and Smash Ultimate. I think there's hope, but there's also the very great argument for Minecraft Steve. So
great in quotations.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, powerful, strong. Maybe not one I like, but it business wise, it makes sense. So, yeah. Let me see. Justin, you're saying they've made up moves for the Star Fox character, so why the hell not for the Fortnite guy? Yeah, that's also true. It's another character that...
Any argument that's based on moveset potential is just not an argument.
Right,
basically.
yeah, it's been broken several times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite guy just needs not to exist because he's Fortnite guy.
Oh.
I mean, let's be real here. If you had the choice between one character about building things, would you rather have Steve or Fortnite guy?
I would.
Steve.
Oh no,
Steve.
there's another one I would have instead of those two. Tetramino.
There you go.
That's what I. If I want a character about building things, that's what I want. Or a
Well,
Tetris
you
builder.
There you go.
But are you really building in Tetris?
Yes.
Yeah. You build the brick to take down. Well, if you lose, it's built forever. So you know. Actually, Mark Jacobs has a hot take. You guys ready? The Legend of Zelda is a terrible franchise. J.K. April Fools.
Oh, I was about to get upset.
Yeah.
I was about to go off.
Flip this whole table. Just.
Oh man, I hate to do this. I hate to do this, but private information just said stage builder, please, and then it shot up in my head. What if during the Smash Direct they announced the new modes, one of them stage builder, and then they used that to sort of tie in a character reveal that builds.
Oh, so basically, stage builders represented with a Minecraft stage to begin with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please no.
Makes sense, but it makes sense. It makes sense.
It makes slight sense.
Just because it makes sense doesn't mean it's gonna happen. There are many things that make sense.
Nintendo never makes sense, so that's why Banjo is not going to Smash, because Nintendo hates making sense.
Or
exactly.
maybe that's
why.
Or what if that's why Banjo's in Smash, because he doesn't make as much sense as other characters.
Oh, that's what I meant. Steve. Steve's not going to get in Smash because
that makes sense.
Banjo's going to get in because Steve makes too much sense, so Banjo's getting in.
I just think we won't know unless we go to the future. Because even if you have legitimate information, companies send out false information to get leakers, right? So even the leakers don't know always. Right, it's not until Nintendo announces it that we know, you know. And here's another idea to throw out there. Right, so there was a lot of talk about Metroid Prime 4 before it was delayed, right? We thought, hey, maybe we could be seeing it soon, you know. And there was a lot of talk about maybe Silex being a DLC character, especially because his spirit's missing for the game, but the other hunters are not. But now with Metroid Prime 4 delay, what if Silex was planned? Look, my dog he feels a certain type of way about this Silex character. But what if Silex was planned as one of the 5 DLC characters, right? Towards the end, and he was scrapped or moved to another Challenges Pass a ways from now because Metroid Prime 4 was delayed. He's just not happy about this.
He's still upset about Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting theory. It could definitely be possible, or they could just tie it into a Metroid Prime Trilogy HD.
Yeah, I honestly, yeah. But he's not really featured in there. He's just in an ending cutscene in the last one. So
that might be enough. I mean, you know, we are very well aware that Sakurai does not care about spoilers or things like that.
True.
Yeah.
True. I'm just meaning from the frame of mind that he's just not important, really.
Right, but he is in the same series at least, so it's
yes.
Even if he's not in that game, he's in other Metroid games.
So what if Silex is actually the second DLC character? And Metroid Prime Trilogy HD does come out in May.
That'd be pretty hype.
It'd be pretty hype, but I do not expect that at all.
No,
I have more hope for Reggie coming out and announcing Mother 3 and Metroid Prime Trilogy HD than Silex being a random announcement next month or in a few weeks. Which I also don't have a lot of hope for, just to be clear. I want it to happen, but I just think that's a lot to hope to kind of expect. I think we're pretty much at the end of things here. So I see some interesting points brought up in the chat, though. One, Jugs McGee saying Polygon Fighters for Smash. I would love that. The nostalgia there would be incredible. Private Fresh said, I remember when Mother 3 was completely spoiled in Lucas's Brawl trophy. Oof, I'm not going to read that. Because I haven't played Mother 3. Silent Show saying it would be interesting if they added Metroid Prime Hunters to Metroid Prime Trilogy HD. It would be really interesting, especially.
Does that mean, would that mean we get Federation Force?
Too like Metroid Prime, just Metroid Prime.
Like just Metroid Prime everything.
Everything that's ever been Metroid.
I mean,
Metroid Prime collection, Metroid Prime HD collection. That'd be cool, man. Thing is, Hunters would need a graphical update, like a serious one.
I mean, wasn't there a Metroid Prime pinball too? So it was like,
ooh, yeah. I think that's a lot.
Metroid Prime Soccer.
Metroid Prime Soccer. Oh, God. I think what we could get is maybe. So you know how we talked about before how maybe Metroid Prime 4 might not even come out to like 2022, right? Which would leave this year with no Metroid, next year with no Metroid, and 2021 with no Metroid, right? So they would need Metroid things to fill those gaps. Prime Trilogy could be one of them. Maybe a 2D Metroid could be another. What if they have a multiplayer Metroid game? What if they do like a Hunter sort of thing, right? Or a Federation Force sort of thing, but like an actual like modern HD sort of multiplayer shooter or co-op game? I'd be okay with that. My only problem with that is that it could be a Federation Force situation where people wanted a real Metroid Prime game, and instead they got Federation Force, right? So that would be kind of a problem. It's kind of one of those things like I feel like it makes more sense to come out after Metroid Prime 4, right, as an individual thing. And heck, maybe that's what this Cancel Metroid Prime 4 project could become. It could become like a Metroid Prime spin-off game that's like a multiplayer shooter sort of thing, and then they leave Metroid Prime to be more of like the adventure sort of game.
I feel like for me the reason why I didn't like Federation Force that much was because the main story was completely dependent on multiplayer.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a Triforce Heroes type situation. It didn't feel like, you know, an actual Metroid Prime game because it focused so much on that. So I feel if they wanted to do something multiplayer related, they could do it in a regular Metroid Prime game. They just kind of have to keep it separated. Like don't have the multiplayer be the single player basically.
Yeah, no, yeah, I see that. That makes sense. I'm definitely, you know, the frame of mind that Metroid Prime needs to focus on the adventure, right? That's what's most important about it, I think. So I like the idea of them maybe being separate. And you look at with Metroid Prime 2, I think the multiplayer suffered a bit because of that. And then with Hunters, the single player suffered, right? And the multiplayer was good. So we'll see. We'll see. I see. It looks like we're having a little bit of a movement happening in the chat. Got Conga Line Monkey, Pineapple Prism, Drew's Fur, Christian, Cheapskate Gamer. It looks like the Kazoo crew is coming through.
Oh.
Yeah. Hashtag Kazoo through coming through. That's cool. That's cool. Thanks for coming by, guys. Yeah. So, do you guys think that it could actually happen, though? Do you guys think we could maybe see, like, an alternative, like, Metroid Prime multiplayer sort of thing in the future, or no?
I would assume they're going to focus primarily on the single player, but it wouldn't surprise me if they decided to, because I think one of the Metroid Prime games did have, like, a local deathmatch type thing.
It's Metroid Prime 2.
Yeah, too. So they could just take that kind of formula and, you know, expand upon it if they wanted to, but I don't really see them doing that.
Right. No, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think Metroid Prime 4 that's the focus. So that it is what it is. That's the focus, and I don't see them coming out with a multiplayer Metroid Prime kind of game before Metroid Prime 4. But it could be maybe sometime in the future. The Yellow Kazoo, thank you for coming through. But yeah, I think we've pretty much reached a natural conclusion for the discussion, though. I don't really. I mean, we could sum it up, right? So, I guess to sum things up, we talk about Monolith Soft working on the next Zelda, right? And we agree that it's probably just what Monolith Soft has been doing, where they've helped out with the Zelda games, but they're not the main team behind it. But that concept art is interesting, and maybe, you know, it's a sign that the next Zelda game is a lot deeper into development than we realize, right? Because Monolith Soft is just a supplementary team usually. But maybe it also could be hinting, that concept art at least could be hinting that maybe, you know, this game's going to take a little bit more of a realistic sort of route. That'd be interesting to see. And then what else did we cover? We talked about Youngblood, right? It's cool. It's coming, right? It looks like there's a lot of really good Switch ports coming out and an actual day and date release, which is important. It's good to see that. We agree that the Joker Best Buy leak is legitimate, right? We're kind of thinking that within the next 2 weeks, we're probably going to see Joker, right? For Smash, along with that 3.0 update. And in terms of the hope for Banjo, oh god, it's really just a hope right now. I want it to be more than just hope, but
Right.
it's kind of a toss-up for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for it, but I'm not expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was so cool, though, especially with a little talk with Microsoft and Nintendo this year. If we get a rare replay, it would tie in so well. So well. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for coming by. This is the end of the discussion, but I am going to try and clip out different parts of the discussion and share them throughout the week along with the other videos. And make sure to check out Brandon from What About Nintendo. The link to his channel is in the description below. Shifty as well. Brandon, you just had an April Fool's video that came out, right?
Yes, I did. Just one on some leaked gameplay info and name for Animal Crossing on Switch. So check that out if you want a good laugh.
Yeah, and if you want to get schooled in Smash, or you want, schooled and get better, Shifty's been streaming quite a bit of it, haven't you?
Yeah, every Friday I have everyone from chat come in, play some games, learn how to play better, that kind of thing. It's fun times. A lot of very interesting games have happened. Some of them not so conventional.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time, guys. So again, the links to the channels are in the description below. And just because there's a lot of people here, I'm just going to briefly go over my hope. This is not really a prediction. My prediction is that there will be an Nintendo Direct in the middle of this month. But, and it could include Reggie, right? Because he's literally leaving April 15th, right? But there's also that little tease from Nintendo about a week or so ago with Tom Nook talking about taxes. And guess when the tax deadline is? April 15th. So we got a tax deadline the 15th. Tom Nook talking about taxes, right, for Animal Crossing. We're waiting on that gameplay reveal. So that might be tied into it. Reggie might have his final send-off, and Reggie's been known to talk about both Metroid and Mother in several interviews. We've been waiting for Metroid Prime Trilogy HD. There is technically a slot open in May, so maybe that's an announcement, right? Maybe Mother 3 is there as well. This is all just like hopes, right? Not really predictions. My prediction is there will be a Nintendo Direct around the April 15 time, though. Mm-hmm. So all of that, and then we also are going to get information on the 3.0 update for Smash soon, along with Joker and his part of the Fighter's Pass. So all of that, I think, has the potential to maybe coming out, showing off at some point this month. April 15th is kind of the date I'm looking at. In fact, actually, let's look at when that falls in the month, though. Like, what day in the month is that? Come on, calendar, pop up. The 15th is a Monday, so that would be kind of a weird day to have a Nintendo Direct. But, I mean, you know, it could happen. It's not impossible. So, yep, that's what I'm sort of thinking. Next week, maybe. The Yellow Coup is saying April 11 or the 18th. Yeah, usually Thursday is the day, right? So that's what makes more sense. And I mean, just because the Reggie is done on the 15th, that doesn't mean there can't be a Nintendo Direct on the 18th, right? Like, he could record the Direct before his last day, right? They're recorded beforehand. So maybe he still leaves on the 15th, but they record a Nintendo Direct and it happens on the 18th, which is a Thursday, which makes sense. That could happen.
Yeah, that's perfectly possible.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And also, you know, while I do like the idea of the whole tax deadline thing tying into an Animal Crossing gameplay reveal, I don't think that's likely. And it's just like, what? The tax deadline is just for people here in the States. So, you know, it's not that big of a deal for the rest of the world, right? Or I don't know how the tax deadlines work for everyone else, or different countries. It's a lot of different rules. So
yeah, I would imagine it could be drastically different.
Yeah. But 18th makes a lot of sense. And it also, you know, the 11th makes sense too, and for different reasons, because whatchamacallit, you know, the Joker's being teased, the whole approaching thing has changed. Like, it seems like it's right around the corner. So I would agree the 11th or the 18th make a lot of sense. Yeah. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you all really soon. Make sure to check out both What About Nintendo and I Am Shifty. The links are in the description below. Leaving a like would be appreciated, and I'll leave clips for this podcast for you guys to watch throughout the week, and hope you guys have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Take care.